So I was playing this visual novel, and I had an idea. You know, the idea was the reversed tsundere. So you got the tsundere. The tsundere is someone who, like, a girl who acts aggressive or disinterested towards you, but secretly really likes you. I had this idea for the reversed tsundere, where they they act pretty nice. They act like, they act smiley and generally like amicable around you, but they secretly hate you. And then I realized I just invented normal women. I just invented real women. That's what I invented, was just real women.
Be more patient in our lives. We want, we need, and we want more. We pray for our desires. When things go wrong, we start to worry. Why don't you help me with my problem? But you give us what we need. We may not be what we want, but no prayer and faith knows the answer. Yeah, give us what we really need.
This is the script for the video, guys. This is the plan, the script. It's not finished yet. It's unfinished. Who knows what's going to happen at the end? Even I don't know what's going to happen at the end. No one knows. Not even me. It's crazy. Anything could happen in this wild fucking video. No one knows. It's crazy wacky. It's crazy wacky. Shit's gonna get a little crazy later. Shit's already getting crazy. Let's take it down. Let's take it down. We gotta start with the basics. We gotta set our fucking ground rules. We gotta start from the beginning. We gotta start from the beginning of the story. Otherwise, the story won't make any sense. My hair is a little fucked. Actually, it's getting a little long. I need to cut it. Anyway, we're gonna start by talking about cyberpunk. We're gonna start by talking about the failure of cyberdelia. The failure of cyberdelia. This is going to be a little bit of a rehash of some shit that was in Hypernormalization. Great documentary. If you haven't seen it, would recommend watching it. It's quite long, definitely worth watching. So this is like a tiny point in the documentary. I'm going to try and add my own shit to it, so I'm not just rehashing it. I'm going to try and make this not boring for you if you've already seen the documentary that I'm talking about. But yeah, I would recommend watching this video and Hypernormalization as well. Although of course this video is significantly better than Hypernormalization because I am a genius. So cyberdelia. Cyberdelia, it was this concept, it was popular in the 90s, a mixture of psychedelic fucking psychedelia, that's the word I'm looking for. Psychedelic shit, 60s hippie culture with cyber, with like electronics and futurism. This is where a lot of the concept of cyberspace comes from. Is from this cyberdelia, and I'm extending this to like to go way back further than it actually comes from. I'm extending it back to its roots in the 60s, even though the words like the proliferation of cyberdelia didn't happen until like the 90s with hacker culture and stuff like that. But let's go back, take it back to like this idealized version of a world where the real world is controlled by these big corporations, but But on the internet we can run around and free to do whatever we want and build our new world without any of the problems of capitalism and without any of the problems of government watching over us. That's the big one. Government. Don't like government. No states, no countries, no none of this shit. We just build in our own place on the internet, and it's this free society where we can live online in the virtual realm. And, you know, obviously this didn't happen. It was never going to happen because companies, even though they were slow on the uptake, eventually at this point in 2020, they, like, the internet's dead. The internet, like, when I say that, what I mean is the cyberdelic dream is dead. There is no magic cyberspace away from the government where all the cool hackers hang out. Like, none of it exists. It was, you know, there's a part of it that came true, and that's why cyberpunk attracts people, especially in the modern day. And I'll get to that in the next in the next clip. But right, but like in general, the dream failed. It's the dream that failed. Some predictions came true. Some like aspects were accurate, and that's not to take away from those. That's like very interesting, very cool. Lots of interesting stuff was brought up by these cyberpunk works, like, you know, your William Gibson type things with your hackers and your neuromancers and your Mona Lisa overdrives and your Blade Runners and all that stuff. Loads of interesting stuff was brought up in all that stuff, but you know, we live in cyberpunk and it's shit. Like, it's not like cyberpunk, because in the real world, the corporations made fucking sure that they own the technology. In cyberpunk media, the people with brain implants never have to worry about Elon Musk seeing their thoughts. Right? They can run around and do whatever government destroying tactics, anti-corporation tactics they want, because the internet is left alone by these corporations. In the real world, corporations are run by people who read these cyberpunk books. Corporations are run by people like Steve Jobs, who grew up in a time where he was one of the progenitors of this ideology that, like, and same with Microsoft, Bill Gates. This ideology that the future, this sort of hippie mixed with technology, mixed with the internet being this cyberspace, being a realm free from government and state rule and stuff like that. And so they know how to not fuck up. They know how, I mean, Steve Jobs is dead, he kind of fucked up that. But they know how to not give away their control. They know how to stay in control, and cyberpunk media, all of this cyberspace stuff never accounted for that. And there was a while where hackers were like super powerful, and you know, Nix talks about this in her essay Hello from the Wired, an Introduction to Cybernihilism, that the hacker could be the new revolutionary subject, because an individual hacker could do as much damage as a mass-scale riot if they, for example, attacked a city's power grid, or if they attacked some water processing plant, or shut down the government servers or something like that. Except in real life, that never happens. It happens very, very, very rarely. And it's never like, oh, we're going to do this for political gain. It's always for Bitcoin, or something. It's always for money. It like, the dream is dead. The dream never, like, something changed there, and we'll talk about that, what specifically happened. But the other thing I want to talk about with the death of this virtual realm that would free you from these states and stuff is the idea of virtualization, because you know, this was something that was tough for me to get into my head, because I had this as a big thought. You know, how do I put this? I had this as a big something I was really into. You know, this transhumanist idea that one can upload one's consciousness, or something like that. You know, the Elon Musk Neuralink type thing. And that was my very, very, very brief explanation of the you know, the social reasons why the cyberdelia thing never happened, why the cyberspace dream never came true. If you want to know more about it, watch Hypernormalization. But I don't want to impeach on that too much. I don't want to just rehash that. So I'm gonna talk more about the science or the philosophy behind why these things were just it's bad science and it's bad philosophy, which is that the science of the mind and the philosophy of consciousness. Like, why will you not be able to upload your brain to the cloud and live as a transhumanist god? Because the human mind and the human consciousness, there's no actual evidence to support that it is software running on hardware. There's no evidence there to support that if you perfectly recreate the human brain in a computer with a physical simulation, that it will somehow retain all, like it will just be you. That's a very specific view of how consciousness works with no evidence behind it. It's a very specific philosophy of how consciousness works that has been completely brought into with a bunch of people that contains so many base assumptions that are just unfounded and unjustified, and yet so many people bought into it. A big one is that we will be able to physically simulate the brain anywhere near the near future. Need I remind you that the human brain is the most complex object that science has yet discovered in the known universe. We have never found anything as complex as the human brain, and yet we are somehow completely like, yeah, we'll have no problem perfectly physically simulating the human brain. I don't think so. I don't think that's true. I think that's a very, very, very advanced technology, possibly hundreds of years in the future. I mean, look, I don't want to be one of those guys who's all fucking pessimistic and then gets proven wrong when everything's epic soon, you know, like people were saying ray tracing was a super advanced technology. They didn't realize that the upscaling would allow ray tracing to be, you know, much more reachable in video games in real time. I'm talking about real-time ray tracing in video games, which, if you don't know, is a way to calculate incredibly accurate lighting information. And it's very, very processor heavy, and people were saying, oh, we're still 30 years off from having household computers that are capable of ray tracing, but it turns out that using upscaling techniques you can render it at a lower resolution, then upscale the image to the higher resolution that you want, and therefore you can, you know, get ray tracing sort of in a cheaty way by doing it at a lower resolution, which requires way less processing speed, and therefore we have loads of games with ray tracing these days, and they look great. And a lot of people who said we would never get ray tracing looked kind of dumb because, you know, they predicted it wrong. I don't want to be that guy for brains, but I'm pretty fucking sure that we are far away from physically simulating a human brain. Pretty fucking far away. I don't even know how you would start. I don't even know how you'd start. And people don't even seem to have thought this far ahead, that like into like they're just like, oh, you will be able to upload your brain to a computer. Your brain is not a computer. It's a different thing. It's not like you can't upload your consciousness, because your consciousness isn't some software that runs on the computer that is your brain. It's not like how I can put a USB stick into my computer, take a file out, plug it into another computer. There's no reason to assume that that's how consciousness works. Like, that's how personality works, how thoughts work, memories work. There's so many movies that are ruined because, you know, they assume that you can take a memory out and look at it, or a dream out and look at it, but there's no evidence to support that you can ever do that. That's just, I mean, it's possible. I'm not denying that it's a possibility, but it's just one very, very specific way to hypothesize about what might be possible that has a bunch of these assumptions that are unproven, that are just pure speculation for the sake of this would be cool. And the second thing, and I know this because of an interview with Gabe Newell, and this got me thinking even more, is how linked, like, consciousness is not just the brain. It's very, very reductive to think that a human being is just the brain encased in a meat something. Now, regardless of whether you believe there's something transcendent about consciousness, you know, something resembling a soul, even if you don't believe it's actually a soul, just something transcendent, even, you know, I've heard some arguments that I'm not smart enough to understand, but that consciousness might be at least partially a quantum phenomenon, which would make it incredibly hard to do on impossible on regular computers, and on quantum computing is very, very far away from reaching that level as far as I understand. So yeah, if consciousness is partly a quantum phenomenon, that's also very possible. Again, Elon Musk, throw your ideas of Neuralink out the window, like, just not happening. But Gabe Newell was talking about how, well, Gabe Newell was trying to do interfacing, brain-computer interfacing. This isn't the same as, you know, this is actually closer to what Neuralink is doing. Not fully uploading your thoughts to the consciousness, but a brain-computer interface. Gabe Newell specifically talking about, with video games, of course, because he runs Valve, or owns Valve, or whatever. And he was talking about how, well, it's very easy to trick your brain into, for example, perceiving certain sensations, but you get a bunch of, like some things, it's not logical. I forgot exactly
what he said, but he said like certain feelings are certain sensory data is very easy to simulate in the brain. I think he gave the example of I think he mentioned hot and cold, but the reason I bring up hot and cold is because I know for a fact that he also mentioned there's a bunch of side effects. For example, when you mess with the brain, how it perceives temperature, the immune system gets involved. I never even thought of that, but that makes perfect sense. Of course, the brain is connected to the body. Like, it's all one big system. You can't just simulate the brain. You would have to perfectly simulate an entire human being. And even then, we don't know if it would work. So you would be risking this. You would have to simulate perfectly. I'm talking down to the cell level, probably. I don't know. Like a brain, you can simulate a brain because a brain is made up of basically one type of cell. I mean, variations of neurons, right? But the human body as a whole is made up of a fuck ton of different cells. The brain doesn't even have, it's sterile in there as far as I know. There's not even any bacteria. But here's something I've always talked about: how much gut bacteria actually influence your thoughts. I implore you to research this, because it turns out that your gut biota, that is right, the bacteria and germs essentially that live in your gut, actually literally impact what you think. For example, a lot of the time, you can't separate it because it's all the same system, but like, for example, if you're really craving fried food, that's not you craving fried food, that's them craving fried food. They're the ones that are really in control, right? They literally control your thoughts in a sense, because there is no brain-body dichotomy. It's all one system. Even the transcendent quantum shit that I don't know if it exists or not, the soul or whatever, that's also part of the same system. They have this weird mind-body dualism, and that's just a very weird opinion to have if you're a scientist. Like, they're not scientists, they're CEOs, that's the problem. But this is why the cyberpunk dream of like, oh, well, I can be free in cyberspace, I can upload my consciousness. Sure, VR can exist, and even VR is incredibly limited. Like, I think people didn't pay attention to how VR, like, they didn't want to think about it. I mean, you either have VR like we have in real life now, which is basically a visor and some touch controls. You know, it probably wouldn't be too hard in the future to get rid of the little remotes you hold, and it would just be your hands. I'm sure that's feasible. But then you'd have to have haptic feedback for when you grab objects, so probably like some gloves or something. I know people are working on that. But the big thing is walking, right? And all the like, who's gonna have a fucking treadmill, like an omnidirectional treadmill in their house just to play video games? Like, this is like only ever gonna be a niche market. I'm pretty sure. It's possible, sure. Maybe people will have maybe it'll become that culturally important that everyone will have a big space in their house just for this omnidirectional treadmill. But even the omnidirectional treadmills at the moment, like with what I've seen of how they're going, they're like decent. I mean, sure, that we can assume that the technology will improve, but like, that's going to be a really expensive and really big and clunky bit of kit to have in your house. And the only other way to do it is to do like a Sword Art Online style thing where it like bypasses your body's movement sensors, so you're just sort of in a coma, in which case, like, that's just the brain-computer interface. We get back to the old problems of, well, that shit is fucking hard to do when you have all this stuff to consider. The immune system. Firstly, shutting down your body's motor functions, then just bringing it back. Yeah, that's not fucking... Yeah, that's so super easy. Anyone could do that. No, of course not. Even the human body messes it up. Yeah, you like when you fall asleep and you get the hypnagogic jerk. Like, even the human brain fucks it up. You're not going to be able to do it better. It's dead. The dream is dead. The cyberpunk dream is dead. And that's just the cyber bit in cyberpunk. The punk is really dead. The punk is in the middle of the earth's fucking core, buried deep underground. It's fucking dead. There's no cyberpunk. Because the high-tech low-life doesn't exist. They didn't understand the resources and the money it would need. You can't have a computer without rare earth elements mined by child slaves in the Congo. It doesn't happen. And so they're gonna be prohibitively expensive to get the high-end, you know, the gear for most people. And, you know, sure, this piece of kit is the greatest thing ever invented, but they didn't realize that those would only exist for a short time in like the 2000s, and then companies would go and turn into planned obsolescence and things like this. None of that exists. When no cyberpunk media thought about planned obsolescence. No cyberpunk media thought about, my $5,000 fucking Gibson, hack the Gibson from fucking Hackers. Great movie, by the way. That's not what it's called. His cyber deck. What's his deck called? I forgot. From Neuromancer. I forgot what his deck is called. But my fucking cyber deck. My cyber deck broke, and they have a no repair policy. You need a proprietary screwdriver, so I have to take it into the shop to get it repaired, and that's gonna cost me 500 quid. That never happened in any cyberpunk novel, because they would assume, everyone would have the skills to do this. Yeah, the skills don't exist when you're talking like microprocessors. You can't hand solder that sort of thing. I mean, maybe someone can, but even then you'd need a bunch of equipment. And I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's incredibly prohibitive. And the idea that someone would have all of these skills plus somehow be like an uneducated punk from like working class background, it's just completely unrealistic in the modern era. And of course the big one, that cyberpunk as a concept is the least punk thing possible, because what's the biggest video game that everyone is excited for right now that's gonna make literally billions of dollars? Cyberpunk 2077. There is nothing less punk than having your entire movement plastered on the name of a major franchise by a giant company. And CD Projekt Red, sure, they're like, at least they can be called an indie studio technically. At least they were when they started making the Witcher games, as I've been learning from Joseph Anderson's amazing Witcher series. They're the big boys now. They're not. They've grown. They're a big corporation, and according to the leaks that I've seen of Cyberpunk seems to be a dumbed down version of this like combat mechanics and stuff. And it's all leaks. I can't say for sure. The quality of the game doesn't matter. It could be the best game ever made. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it's not fucking subversive at all. It's not punk at all. It's none of these things. It's not high tech low class, which is the definition of cyberpunk that gets thrown around, or got thrown around on Lane-chan when that still existed. Does Lane-chan still exist? I know Orisu-chan got shut down. I don't know. I don't care anymore. There was a moment in the zeitgeist to where cyberpunk was really cool. And there's a reason for it that cyberpunk was really cool for a moment in the zeitgeist, but it's past. And we have all of these problems that I've just discussed as to why cyberpunk is just completely lacking in trying to do what it set out to do, which is to do a predictive future looking theory, and like in a fiction form, I guess you could say theory fiction, or to set up a world which may exist, because at this point the cyberpunk world, we're basically living in it, and it looks very similar in some ways, and that's why on the surface level we got the big billboards. We don't have the flying cars. We got the big billboards in China with Asian writing on it. We got the VR. We got the big mega corporations. On a surface level, it looks like, wow. If you're a Redditor, wow, cyberpunk. That was my soy face. What do you think? I got a pretty good soy face, right? Wow, we live in cyberpunk. Isn't that so crazy? But when you actually dig down into it, it's like, yeah, but all of the stuff that made for any interesting story to be able to be told in these fucking cyberpunk universes doesn't exist. And therefore, whatever. And also, the technology is wildly, like, I mean, this is just a critique. Like, there's no way they could have known this, but in terms of predictions, like, the technology is far, far apart. Like, in a lot of these movies, it's like half of it is like, wow, the internet exists, or books, like, the internet exists, and then the other thing is like, oh, and there's general AI, and there's space colonies. Like, these things are fucking decades apart from each other, like, half a century apart from each other, probably. But more, it's and that's not like to knock on any of the fiction. I love Neuromancer. I've read it 2 times. I love Blade Runner. I've seen that movie a bunch of times too. I love these fucking movies, and as we'll see in a few minutes, once I finish rambling on this topic and move on to rambling on a related topic, there's lots of great cyberpunk media out there. This isn't a criticism of the cyberpunk medium. It's a criticism Oh my gosh. This isn't a criticism of cyberpunk novels and stories and narratives. It's a great setting. So many interesting stories. Gravity's Rainbow? No, that's not the one I'm thinking of. That's a completely different book. It's called Gravity something. Gravity Fall? Gravity's Fall? Not Gravity Falls. That's a different thing. It's a book. It's set in Dubai. It's really fascinating. No one cares about it. I think it's called Gravity's Fall or something like that. I'll put a thing up. Yeah, no one. Oh, that's really cool. Like Arab futurism, dope shit. But anyway, it's just not this cyberpunk as a subculture is what I'm criticizing. As a subculture, it's just not prepared to deal with modern problems, to deal with the concerns of a modern person. It was prepared to deal with the concerns of a person in the 80s and 90s, not prepared anymore. And but that's every rule has its exceptions, and there's a phrase: the exception that proves the rule. And there, as I said, there's loads of great cyberpunk media out there. So let's talk about the hope. Let's talk about the hope, because it's not all hopeless. This is beginning the video with a downer, but there's hope. Let's talk about it. There are some cyberpunk storylines and artworks which break the mold a little bit, solving some of these problems I brought up earlier. And the first one, the most obvious one to bring up, would be Serial Experiments Lane. Now, to everyone's shock and surprise, I'm going to actually try and avoid talking about Lane too much, because this will just turn into an hour-long ramble about why Lane is so good. But there are problems with Lane, and I don't talk about this enough. But Lane has its problems. I'm not gonna, I don't want to talk about why Lane is good or bad or what the story means. I just want to point out that it exists and it solves a bunch of the problems I talked about earlier. For example, it doesn't have this cyberdelic, utopian view of cyberspace as somewhere untouched by corporations. Cyberspace is just as infected with disinformation and corporate interests and bad people, bad actors. When Lane goes on there, people manipulate her constantly. There's a bunch of stuff about that sort of solves one of those problems. Even though when you see Lane in the show, she's literally in the Wired. My personal interpretation is that is just a visual metaphor for her being on the internet. I don't think she will, at least until she gets the psych chip. Maybe after, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think it's definitely at least partially metaphorical. I think for her just being at the computer typing. Maybe it's to do with her perception of events, but it's different. It's very different, and it changes the way it's interpreted. Also, it's very small scale. When then they may be fighting this giant government, but it takes place in 4 locations: Club Siberia, almost Lane's house entirely, some Tokyo streets, Lane's school. That's about it. There's some other secondary locations, but almost that's the entire show. Very small scale. There's no big action scenes. There's no giant run from the police. It's very psychological and subtle. It has its moments of subtlety, and it also does some great play with stuff that cyberpunk doesn't always get to play with, God and spirituality and femininity. People don't talk enough about that about Lane either, but it's there. And that's all I'm going to say about Lane. You get 2 minutes of Lane in this video, and then we're moving on, because otherwise I will just talk about it forever. But there's other stuff, and while we're on the topic of Japanese media, let's talk about Blame, a word that rhymes with Lane. Blame, the manga. And yes, I do know that it's supposed to be pronounced Buramu. Buramu, I believe, is the correct pronunciation, but I'm calling it Blame because it's spelled blame. So fuck you. Also, the prequel comic to Blame is called Noise, which happens to be the same name as my comic, which you can't find online anymore because reasons. That was a tangent. Let's talk about Blame. Blame is classed as cyberpunk, and yet it is completely unlike any other cyberpunk thing I've ever seen. It takes place in the far, 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 far distant future. Most cyberpunk is near future, or near to just near to mid future. Blame is the really far, far, far. Blame is set in a world where technology and, you know, this industrial expansion of the world, Earth basically literally grew in size because they kept building layers of cities on top of layers of cities. It grew in size to the point where it's literally touching the moon. It's that big, just in layers and layers and layers of like metal and wires and gears and, well, not really gears, but like pipes would be a better, yeah, pipes and giant metallic creatures. And, you know, it's so long that humanity has literally evolved into various different subspecies. You know, that is, and it's still cyberpunk because it's still high-tech, low life. It's all about the low life of the people living there. But it's not like any other cyberpunk. It's, you know, it's almost, I don't know, atom punk or not atom, whatever the Miyazaki one is. It's almost like that. You know, let's do a little side tangent number one. Short side tangent number one. I hate all the fucking something punk genres. So fucking dumb. But the worst one is steampunk. Has there ever been any good steampunk storyline? I don't think it's ever happened. I just don't think it's ever happened. I don't think there's ever been any good steampunk storyline. Like, can we just get rid of all of these punk fucking shit? Fuck off. Leave punk alone. It's dead. Let it rot in its grave and move on to newer pastures. But yeah, Blame is really good, and actually, even though Blame is, you know, could be close to cyberpunk, and it does so many interesting things. It talks about, you know, some of the classic sci-fi stuff and cyberpunk stuff, like, you know, the nature of humanity and consciousness, but it also does a bunch of like cool other stuff, cool other stuff, just concepts like the net gene, and it, you know, it also does the cyberspace thing, but it does it in a unique way. Everyone should read Blame. I haven't even finished it, but it's amazing. Also has very few words. Blame, great manga, but, you know, from there, Blame, you know, it could almost be classed less as cyberpunk and more, if I was to compare it to like music, like the sort of soundtrack I think would fit with Blame wouldn't be, you know, your cyberpunk like, I don't know, Atari Teenage Riot or something like that. It would be, or Death Grips even. It would be more like some industrial, some like classic Throbbing Gristle or something. So I decided to class it as industrial cyberpunk, this genre, which is more of like the 90s view of cyberpunk, your leather trench coats and you know, late 90s, 2000s with like a more futurist kind of view. And this is where we talk about The Matrix, another classic cyberpunk thing, which that is completely different from 80s cyberpunk. 80s cyberpunk, you know, you got your fucking Ghost in the Shell, Akira, Blade Runner, and all the Gibson novels, stuff like that. But then the 90s cyberpunk, that's where you get your, and 2000s to cyberpunk, you get your Blame, you get your Deus Ex, I would say, you get your the original Deus Ex game, you get your and The Matrix, and The Matrix is very fascinating because you know, it's been long discussed about how The Matrix is about the book by Baudrillard, right, about fucking thingies. What's it called? Simulation and Simulacra, that one, right? And how it like gets it all completely wrong and doesn't understand the book. That's great. Matrix is a well-constructed movie, okay? I like the Wachowski sisters. Their movies are great. I even liked the more recent one. I forgot what it's called. Is it called Valerian and the City of 1,000 Dickheads or something? I don't remember. But yeah, it's cool, but it's still, you know, it does more than the 80s cyberpunk. It at least like switches it up a little bit. Like it's got, you know, Blame has like some biopunk, like body horror type shit in it. The Matrix has like this, you know, it seems like a very standard cyberpunk movie, but actually it's like cyberspace is not. It barely plays into it. Like The Matrix is completely different from cyberspace. Cyberspace is like a utopic, utopian, is that the right word? I don't know. Utopian view of like traveling around, hacking shit. Whereas The Matrix, inside The Matrix is just, that's real life. It's just boring and shit. And only outside of The Matrix, that's where the cool shit happens. You know, like in the real world is where the cool shit happens, where the big underground techno rave orgy happens in like the second movie or whatever. Was that the third movie? I don't remember. I never watched them because they're kind of boring. They're actually, people say they don't make, tangent number 2. People say the second and third Matrix movies don't make sense. They make sense. You just have to pay attention. Like, just my problem with them is not that they don't make sense. They're just boring. They're just like, The Matrix 1 is a very well constructed story, very engaging characters and stuff, and you know, it ends with the character reaching his full strength. There's nowhere to go after that. He's already, like, Neo is already the one. He's already, you know, he can fucking fly. Like, there's no you know, after that it just becomes boring. It's just watching someone who's already really good at what he does do everything really well, and except the only interesting stuff is the stuff that everyone else hates, like the architect talking about how it turns out this was all planned from the very beginning, and well, also other interpretations about how it being like a retroactively a trans story and stuff, which is, you know, very interesting. But the movies are boring. The movies are just not very well paced. They're not very well structured. They're not confusing in the plot. Like, I understand what people are saying and what they're doing. They're confusingly structured. The structural editing is a kind of a mess in those movies. If you're a film student, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, back to the main plot. So you have these like industrial cyberpunk things which sort of take the mold and like twist it into this interesting direction, but it's still not enough. It doesn't solve the problems that this stuff is fucking outdated. It's fucking gone. There's no hope for it. Doesn't present a hopeful vision of tomorrow anymore. It doesn't even, you know, it's supposed to be dystopian fiction. It doesn't even present a plausible dystopia. It doesn't even present a dystopia that might be cool to live in. It just presents a version of reality which we were deprived of, and it's not even interesting anymore. It's just like, wow, megacorps run everything. Yeah, we know megacorps run everything. They got listening devices and all that. Yeah, I'm filming this video on a listening device right now. You've just all you've done is a very, very poor job of describing like a big country's descent into fascism, and we're currently watching that happen in real time, and it's not entertaining or interesting. It just sucks. It's just boring and painful, and people are dying. There's no cool epic storyline happening. There's no main character who's gonna come along and save the world. It's just boring and like shit. And the government listens to everything you say. You know, there is no hacker character to come along and stir things up. Anyone who's, you know, slightly against the grain, everything that goes against the grain gets re-accumulated into the grain, into capitalism. You know, that's hey, why don't you read a little book by a guy called Mark Fisher called Capitalist Realism, about how we've been deprived of the ability to imagine a future significantly different from capitalism, because cyberpunk actually plays into that a lot too. Yeah. So we've established that there are two big aesthetically distinct styles of cyberpunk. You got the 80s classical cyberpunk, which looks like this, and you got the 90s industrial cyberpunk, which looks like this. And we've also established that neither of them do a very good job at anything, really. They're cool, they were cool for a while, they are sometimes good narratives, but as, you know, speculative fiction or as plausible dystopic fiction, they fail. In the modern era, they were relevant for a long time and great for that time, but the zeitgeist has moved on, and nothing has come around to replace cyberpunk as a subculture. Cyberpunk never even grew into a proper subculture. It's the subculture that never was. It really wanted to exist. It tried to exist. There are movies which really tried to will it into existence, like Hackers, which I mentioned previously, but it never actually existed. It came close to existing with like the very, very early beginnings of hacker culture. That was like the closest cyberpunk ever came to existing, but it just sort of it ended up dead in the water because people need to make money, and you know, smart people tend to make systems, and they weren't very critical of capitalism. They were sometimes. I don't know why it happened. I'm not going to pretend like I can give you a detailed story as to why hacker culture never evolved into a big thing. Probably because it was very based in doing shit that was completely illegal and required vast technical knowledge, which is just not a good, like, you need a subculture based around music and fashion, not around doing something which is already like a big risk and requires you to be very well studied in a specific area of computer science. Not a good way to build a subculture. There we go. I said I didn't know, but it turns out I did know the whole time. Thank you, Jesus. So basically what I'm saying is that cyberpunk was inadequate We need something to fill the void. We need something to fill the void of the subculture that never was, because they say, like, oh, subcultures died with emo, but we're actually living in a subculture right now. There's like a new way, the youth cultures died for a while, but we got some new youth cultures. They don't have names, but they sort of do, like hyperpop or SoundCloud rap, or, you know, PC gamers, for example. That's a pretty good subculture. Or otakus. And, you know, quick tangent number 3. Otaku is like a shit thing to be. You don't want to be an otaku in 2020, because otaku, like the meaning of an anime fan or an otaku in 2020, is not what you think it is. It's not Otaku no Video. It's not fucking whatever that other anime is about an anime club, which I've forgotten the name of in the one time I need to remember it for a video. I'll put it here. It's not that one either. It's not being Hideaki Anno. It's not being this cool guy who knows everything about anime and hanging out with your nerdy friends. Anime is mainstream culture, and it looks like offline TV, and it looks like the Anime Man and their podcast, Trash Taste. This fashion sense that I'm pointing at right now, that's like lots of different ones are flashing up, I'm sure. But this is me editing it. Put lots of different fashion sense. Put offline TV merch here. The way everyone has that little dyed thing in their hair, and then it's like swept to the side, like the Anime Man, and like, you know, Michael Reeves before, Michael Reeves after joining offline TV, before, after, you know, it fucks with you. And do you want to be part of that? Is that the life you want to live? Because when you identify yourself as being an anime fan, what you mean is, you know, the general consensus is saying you're really into Demon Slayer, and, you know, you're not really into Demon Slayer. You're into cool shit like, I don't know, Mahoraba Heartful Days, which you should all go and watch, because it's a really good underrated anime about dealing with mental illness and having friends with mental illness. Sorry, I can't stop talking about Mahoraba. There needs to be some sort, and you can't just increasingly niche your interest. You can't be like, well, I'm not an otaku, I'm a magical girl otaku, I'm a moe otaku, I'm a mecha otaku, oh, I'm actually a light novel otaku, oh, I'm actually a manga otaku. Like, they'll just come for you eventually. And especially because they're trying their best to, like, fuck with the subculture. Being an otaku is no longer, you know, it could have been an identity label anyway, but calling yourself, like, identifying with the type of media product that you consume is just never a good way to build a sustainable subculture that doesn't get absorbed into the capitalist milieu. You know, you need to base your shit on actual principles or philosophies rather than mass media, because let's be honest, as much as we don't want it to be true, anime is a product that is sold for money. Even if we pirate it, that doesn't make it not true. So yeah, that's my rant about otaku. I'm not saying you can't call yourself an otaku if you're an anime fan. What I'm saying is the otaku or otaku related subcultures, or that's not an apt replacement for a youth culture. That is a nothing. That's a nothing. And so cyberpunk was the youth movement that never was. It was never born, no matter how many times people tried to will it into existence. It was the subculture that was stillborn. And at the current time, in AD 2020, it is now too late for it to ever be born. The zeitgeist has moved on, it's no longer relevant, and it's never going to come. The cyberpunk movement it's nothing. It was nothing, and it will continue to be nothing. So what happens next? What's the apt replacement for cyberpunk? What's the next youth movement that will come along? Well, it needs to be something new, because cyberpunk should have worked. It had problems, as I talked about. You know, it was too technical, too specific, too many blah blah blah, too many problems. But like, there should have been something, right? Some coherent. You know, in past generations there were so many. You had your mods, you had your mods and rockers, you had your hippies, you had your neo-communalist hippies, and your I don't know, you had your punks, and you had your skinheads, and your bohemians, and emos, the scene kids, so many. And now we have what, SoundCloud rap fans. Is that a subculture? Because they don't seem to have a cohesive anything, really. Subcultures are dead. Then what comes next? There must be some desire for some, like, coherence, something. I don't know. I just don't know. The fuck? An ant on my hand. An ant on my hand. An ant on my hand. Anyway. That's bad. I should probably clean my room. An ant on my hand. Damn. So that was a bit of a distraction. I kind of lost my train of thought. Cyberpunk never happened. Youth movements are kind of dead because of capitalism or whatever, or neoliberalism. I don't even know. I'm not going to pretend like I know. I don't really know. But whatever's happened in society and culture, something's happened, and the need for youth movements kind of died. Was it the internet that did it? Not really. Like, people still form loads of cliques on the internet. They just are less cohesive. They don't fall under a banner, or if they do, they're kind of shit. Like otaku. Who knows? Who knows? Not me. Maybe what comes next is the anti-movement. Maybe what comes next is the anti-movement.
This is the script for the video, but did anyone notice there's a second piece of paper? I wonder what that could be. Why are there those marks on the side? Could they perhaps line up perfectly to create a hero's journey 3-act structure with each part marked out as its position on the hero's journey, or actually, more accurately, Dan Harmon's story circle adaptation thing, sort of a weird amalgamation of 3-act structure, basic plot, through hero's journey, and Dan Harmon story circle. Whoa!
I originally wanted to do this part with a bunch of clips as examples, but I'm very paranoid about getting another copyright strike on my channel, because my channel already has one copyright strike from an AMV I made that it wasn't even public. I only put it on YouTube because it was too big to send to my friend. So I have a copyright strike, and if I get another copyright strike, I can't upload videos longer than 15 minutes, and all my videos need to be longer than 15 minutes, so I'm sadly gonna try and avoid using clips for this part of the video, even though it would probably be really useful. Sorry about that, but I'm gonna have to use my words. And the reason that clips would be really useful is because I'm gonna be talking about cinema. I'm gonna be talking about video stuff that is best shown in clips. But I can't use clips because of copyright bullshit. So you survive when you're out here in the fucking YouTube game. Speaking of the YouTube game, when YouTube first started, it was often channels just kind of like, when vlogs, specifically, when vlogs first started, vlogs were literally iMac camera pointed at you, like the early iJustine vlogs, for example. It's just that with loads of jump cuts where they would cut the camera and they would move to a different position, which is actually quite a smart way of keeping the video interesting, because that way you could have essentially the same flow and rhythm you would get normally from cinema using cutting to different angles, but instead of moving the camera, you would move the subject, which is doesn't work in any other context other than a YouTube video, or I'm sure it could work in other contexts, but cutting the actual position of the subject relative to the camera for emphasis and visual interest is a very good, sadly it's kind of pastiche now, but I say sadly, it got overdone by the end of it, but it was definitely a very interesting technique. It was a very popular technique, but besides that, the actual cinematography and quality of vlogs was generally low for a long time on YouTube. The camera quality improved, people started vlogging outside, vlogs became something you did on the street, stuff like that, a daily vlog type of channel. There were channels that did stuff that was kind of interesting with the format, like the Vlog Brothers channel, where they communicated for a year using only vlogs through which they would see. That was definitely a very interesting gimmick, but it was mostly that. All of the beginning YouTube vlogs that were experimenting with the format more so were experimenting with sort of various gimmicks and experimenting with the format in terms of playing with what's real. There were a lot of people who were doing sort of ARG adjacent stuff, like a Lonely Girl, whatever her name is, who turned out to be an actress. That sort of thing was very common in the early days of YouTube, but actually taking it more in I'm not going to sit here and say that there were no YouTube artistic stuff before this, right? There was loads. All of these, what I'm about to talk about, has inspirations. You can find them if you really want to do the research. Have inspirations in YouTube and outside of YouTube. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying I have to omit a lot of stuff. That's what this entire section is about. I'm just explaining I have to omit a lot of stuff that is, you know, kind of important for the history of YouTube cinema, I guess. But YouTube as a sort of subgenre of cinema or film or whatever, YouTube videos, like actually me analyzing what makes a YouTube video, there's a lot of stuff I'm omitting, either because I don't know it and I haven't been bothered to go back and do the research, because a lot of those old videos from, you know, the early days of YouTube really do not hold up at all. The comedy is painfully 2007, 2008, unfunny. You know, it's not good, it's bad. There are, I'm sure, plenty of great YouTubers back then that were doing all sorts of crazy stuff just like there are now. I just either am not aware of them or they're beyond the scope of this video, so I'm not going to talk about them. I want to start our story with a man by the name of Casey Neistat. And this would normally be where the clip of a Casey Neistat video goes, but I'm very worried about him copy striking my channel. I don't know how aggressive he is with that stuff, but you know, I'm not gonna risk it. So Casey Neistat, I would consider him to be sort of like the Steven Spielberg, the first blockbuster YouTuber, in that he was using. He took the vlog further than anyone else that I know of had done it before. And he'd actually previously done this before with his HBO series, which is why he had this experience. Now, I don't know what Casey Neistat says about his influences. I know he really likes The Godfather, but for me, he very much reminds me of Les Stroud. Les Stroud is a survivalist type of guy, sort of guy who, like a Bear Grylls character, except Les Stroud really does go out on his own with no one else, just a bunch of camera equipment and batteries. And there's a famous thing about Les Stroud, which is at the end of one of his documentaries where he's or survivalist thing, like I guess they're documentaries, where he's surviving, I believe, in the Alaskan wilderness. He puts his camera down and he walks off into the distance. And then the credits roll. And then after the credits, you see the footage of him coming back all the way from wherever he walked off to pick up his camera. Because there's no one else there to do it. So he has to go back and get it. That sort of thing, doing this like some semi-advanced cinematography, but by yourself, that's what Casey Neistat reminds me of. The way he would like put a camera down on the side street and then film himself like rolling up on his boosted board or whatever to the camera to start his piece to camera it was very unique. No one else does it. And now it's become such a overused style because everyone tried to copy him because it was such a groundbreaking technique, and he was taking it way further with all these drone shots and these POV shots for when he's riding around New York streets, and his editing and music, very iconic. But as I said, he's more like a Steven Spielberg character. He's not trying to particularly get artsy with it. He's doing it because it's pragmatic and to tell a story, to tell a very, very clear narrative in each video. If you hear him, if you watch his videos where he talks about editing and scripting and all that sort of stuff, because all of the Casey Neistat videos are sort of found in the edit, which I find very interesting. Like he has an idea of, okay, today we're gonna go to this place and film some stuff, but he just from what I understand from watching so many Casey Neistat videos, hearing him talk about his process, the way it seems to work is he just shoots loads of footage, and then him and his other editors or editor go through that footage, cut it down, find the story, and they do that every day. Not anymore, but he used to do it every day, which is insane. To create the narrative, not just while filming. He would much rather get loads and loads of footage, cut it down, and then find it in the edit, find where the narrative heart is in the edit, which is, in filmmaking, traditional filmmaking, considered a bad practice. And I don't know if this is really, I think obviously there's nuance there. Casey Neistat, he doesn't he goes into it knowing the sort of narrative he's going to spin, but it seems like he really finds the truth in the edit, which is, you know, in traditional filmmaking, generally considered to be poor practice, although sometimes it's very successful. For example, Star Wars, the original Star Wars film, famously was basically found in the edit. Like they had a bunch of terrible footage and a bunch of pretty good footage, and then very talented from ILM doing the groundbreaking visual effects, but also the editors who were editing it, chopping the film up and splicing it together, were like omitting all of the bad stuff and making a cohesive and good, traditional narrative arc out of something which would probably have been a mediocre, schlocky movie. That's a very famous example of a film that was found in the edit, but that's generally seen as a knock against the guy who made Star Wars. His name's slipping my mind, George Lucas. It's generally seen as a knock against George Lucas that he didn't have the foresight to plan in advance, like to make a good movie before making the movie, and it was just due to a bunch of talented people around him that Star Wars was turned into something that was so successful. With Casey Neistat, that's his technique. He seems to do that. He seems to like actually film for the edit, to get as much footage as possible, knowing that the edit is where it's going to come all together, and he's sort of perfected this technique over years, and it works really well. And also his cinematography was just above everyone else's game. He popularized the use of the GorillaPod outstretched camera, I believe, using like very understanding lenses, because he was a filmmaker. He understood like the right lenses to use when you're filming at certain distances. He understood the narrative aspect of like time lapses. Time lapse is a very simple technique, but as far as I'm aware, people weren't like using time lapses to signify the changing of time. Like, okay, here's we cut to a time lapse, and then you know that the next shot is going to be taking place significant amount of time after the shot you previously saw, right? Or Casey Neistat will often use a time lapse as an establishing shot to show like the location he's going to be in. You can tell I did film classes for a year, can't you? I know all the terminology. None of these are like groundbreaking, but on YouTube specifically, him doing it by himself, that is pretty groundbreaking. The people weren't taking it that seriously, and once it was seen that you could do that sort of thing, the floodgates were open. Now, I'm not saying no one else was doing interesting stuff before Casey Neistat. There certainly was, but people actually adapting the language of film, not just making a short film style thing, and not just making a YouTube style thing, but making a YouTube video using some cinematic language, but in a novel way that actually suits the medium of YouTube much better. Casey Neistat was the first to do it amazingly. He was the first to nail down what he really wanted, right? And not all videos need a Casey Neistat level of production. Firstly, Casey Neistat has money, and most people, especially vloggers at the time, if you wanted to get into vlogging, you don't have the resources to do that sort of thing unless, you're born into money or whatever. Casey Neistat, famously self-made man who believes that anyone can get rich if they just pull themselves up by their bootstraps or whatever the fuck. Pull their socks up and get down to hard work. Famously that type of guy. He was both very open but also very clearly structured, like clearly making a narrative, making a show of it, even though it was more kind of like reality TV almost. Kind of like reality TV but more authentic, I guess. I don't know. He has a very, very fascinating. I would love to do a great, like, serious analysis video on Casey Neistat's cinematography. But it's kind of hard because he has 100,000 vlogs. I can't go through all of them and analyze all of his cinematography. And we all know the classic Casey Neistat type techniques. This would be POV shots riding through traffic. That's a famous one, although he doesn't do it that often anymore because he moved to LA. But in New York, the POV shot riding through traffic, great narrative, great. It does a great job at It's simple but effective. It communicates this idea of going from point A to point B in a way that's visually interesting and has like excitement, because going through traffic on a skateboard is just a really fun thing to watch. Kind of makes you wish you were there. Plus, he always said that the city was an important character in his vlogs. I agree. They're way less good now that he doesn't live in New York, because New York is such a iconic, vibrant place with so much interest at all times that filming in New York, the environment becomes a part of the narrative, and Casey Neistat really understood that, and he worked it into his vlogs. He really would, with all the time lapses, with all the POV shots, he would often do shots where he'd pan up to a building, or to a skyline, just to show like the environment, because he's shooting the rodeo, as they would say, but in an even more abstract way. He has this set essentially, which is the entire city, and he's using it to his advantage. He knows he has this resource, and he's going to get the fucking shots out of it. That's number one. Use the environment, use POV shots where necessary, stuff like that. Number two is to do the Les Stroud thing of setting the camera down, stepping back, and sort of acting yourself walking to the camera. The music choice in Casey Neistat videos, I think, was very influential, very well chosen. He would almost always use very upbeat, chopped up sort of old school hip hop type of vibe. Almost always poppy, nothing dark. We're not talking like halfway crooks type of, like a sort of dark minimalist. We're talking like a very poppy boom bap type of style, upbeat. And the reason for that is, firstly, where does that sound come from? New York. The biggest character in his vlogs is New York, so he would always use that. But also hip hop music, it's just it's supposed to sit in the background, especially of that era. It's supposed to sit in the background of a rapper who's flowing over it, and the lyrics are supposed to be, and the lyrical rhythm is supposed to be what's important, and sort of the focus of the music. So the beats, the instrumentals, are designed to sort of sit in the background to a male vocalist in general, or female vocalist, I guess. But people don't talk about this enough. Male and female vocals have different frequencies, of course. So you have to, depending on who's rapping and their voice, you need to actually change your beat. Sorry, just me being a production nerd, or a composition nerd, I guess. You need to make your beat for a specific type of voice. If I want to make a beat for Danny Brown, I'm not gonna send him the same beat I would send I don't know, the guy from Run the Jewels. Like, they have very different voices. You give the frequencies, there need to be different gaps for them to sit. Either way, this sort of boom bappy New York hip hop type of very upbeat, poppy, often like chopped soul samples or chopped big band samples, like jazzy type of stuff. It's just energetic enough with the drums to keep you interested, to keep a high energy, right? Because that's what he wants to represent. He's sort of high energy, very tightly edited vlogs that keep you engaged the whole time. There's no downtime. He would never want you to have any downtime. He wants the vlog to keep your attention the entire time with no real no bits to drag at all. He wouldn't want tension, whereas I would often edit my videos to create a sense of tension and release. He is much more about a strong, like just strong all the way through, with no sense of tension that could possibly alienate an audience. Again, very much a blockbuster type of thing. There's not too much alienating tensiony stuff. It needs to be high energy the whole way through, no slow bits. And so the hip hop drum pattern, something like that, like it has the high energy, but it's not too high energy as to be like manic or in any way misunderstandable. Like, you could not misunderstand it as being really excited, for example. It's just high energy enough, but it's also kind of chill. It's kind of chill, but also like we're moving. It's like you're sort of hanging out with your friends, but you're hanging out with your friends while you're playing basketball or something. And that's the sort of cadence he wants with his videos. So you got the energy, the New York, and the way it fits in the background over vocals, and it's not quite boring enough to it's not like just putting some Brian Eno in a video where there's nothing interesting and it would completely fade into the background. It still imparts this energy, and that's why you wonder why a lot of people use lo-fi hip hop in their analysis videos and stuff like that. It's a very similar sort of reason. It's for similar type of reasons, except lo-fi hip hop tends to be slightly lower tempo with less high frequencies, which and more jazz inspired. So we get more of an intellectual and less active, energetic type of feel to it. That's why analysis videos and video essays often use lo-fi hip hop to the point where it's become a bit of a trope, anyway. So Casey Neistat's music choice is always very, very on point, and he has people send him music for that. The drone shots also, I forgot to mention in the first part about how he always uses the city as a resource. Again, the drone shots play into that. Yeah, I have barely even talked about like the actual contents of his vlogs. He just has this very distinctive style. Of course, the text, he would always show the date in his old videos. I don't know if he still does, but he would always show the date. That's it, you know, keeps it grounded, keeps you, even if you don't, I don't think anyone like pays attention to the dates. Maybe they do. I don't pay attention to the date at any time in my life, so I don't really notice it. But the fact that there is a date, it makes it grounded. It makes it seem like, no, this isn't something that I'm making up. This isn't, you know, something that happens in magical movie time. This happened on a real day, this day, right here in New York City. He would always do that sort of thing, you know. And he would have recurring segments. That's also very popular on YouTube. I don't need to explain where that works. But, you know, Casey Neistat, he has this distinctive style that I can analyze. He has this distinctive style that I can analyze off the top of my head. I didn't even have to sit here and I didn't have to do any research and rewatch a bunch of old Casey Neistat videos to just do that analysis for you. I just knew that off the top of my head just from thinking back on what his videos are. Because he has this very distinctive style. He is the YouTube blockbuster. He's the first big YouTube blockbuster vlogger, in my opinion. And you know, it's great because he's using these cinematography. He's using these more artistic, actually thinking about the theming and stuff techniques for his videos. But like, he's not, you know, it's still normie tier. Like it's very, very accessible. It's a blockbuster. It's a Jaws or something. You know, it's got this novelness, but it's also, you know what to expect. You know what you're getting in for. You know you're not going to get anything too hard to deal with. You know you're not going to get anything that's going to put you off in any way. You're not really going to be challenged by it. You're not really going to be intellectually challenged by a Casey Neistat video ever. But you're also going to be stimulated enough to keep watching it for whatever 12 minutes or so that's on your monitor, which is exactly the vibe he's going for. And you know, he was very, very successful out of this formula of making videos, and lots of people copied him. Most of them not as well. There were other vloggers who have very distinctive styles, but I don't really, you know, the point is not to say Casey Neistat specifically. The point is to say there are people out there who are doing vlogs in very distinctive styles with more of a, you know, creating a cinematic language specifically for YouTube, which didn't exist previously. Taking aspects from cinema and taking aspects from not cinema, which I think is great. But yeah, as I said, there are problems, and that is YouTube is a numbers game. You know, you want to make your videos as accessible as possible, because the more people see it, the more money you make. Just like cinema. And again, just like cinema, most of the stuff that gets made is pretty bland and pretty generic. There is, of course, some incentive to experiment, because audiences who see something novel and enjoy it are more likely to enjoy it, to connect with it on a deeper level, and come back to rewatch more and more of your content. So if you have something novel to say or novel to do, some sort of novel concept or technique that you want to show off, or idea in any way, something really creative, and you can manage to explain that in a way that your audience can understand, that's the golden calf. That's like that's the sacred cow, you know. That's what everyone's going for, but that is incredibly hard, especially in the line of YouTube, where everything at this point has become so formulaic. So we're moving on, we're moving forward, you know. And again, Casey Neistat has a great style of vlog, but he does a very specific thing. Not everything needs to be that complicated. For example, let's talk about another creator. What about Max Landis? Max Landis, an actual filmmaker, an actual scriptwriter, and I don't want to get into his accusations and shit, you know. Probably not a very good person. That's not the point. The point is, his videos, he has two styles of videos, really. He has video style number one, which is his big produced videos. That is, Wrestling Is Not Wrestling, the one about Superman, that type of thing, where he actually has like it's less of a, it's not a vlog, it's just not a vlog, it's actors and a script and a studio and cutaways and stuff like that. It's not a vlog, it's a short film essentially. It's like a weird comedy short film. But he also has these vlogs where he either gives advice on writing, screenwriting, or my personal favorite, where he pitches a movie to you. And the thing is, he is just a very, like, there's a reason he gets movies made. There's a reason he gets his scripts bought. And that is, he is very, very good. He's a professional writer, and he clearly knows how to pitch a fucking script. And you don't need fancy edits and cuts, because he is a really good storyteller, and he will just get you enraptured in his script. Even if, there have been times when I've listened to one of his pitches, and during the time he was telling it, I was like, oh my god, I wish this movie would get made, this sounds amazing. And then once he's finished, I think back on what happened, and I'm like, if I saw that in a real movie, I would think, what the fuck, that is so stupid, that is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. But it doesn't matter, because he tells it in a really interesting way. It doesn't. His goal is not to make a great movie. His goal is to sell his script. And if he makes a great movie, that is, secondary. What matters is that he sells the script. He would for money. The making the movie is just to hope that his script turns out good. But at the end of the day, that's not the point. It's not his skill. His skill isn't in making the whole movie. His skill is just in selling the script, writing and selling the script. And he does it very well. And he doesn't any fancy camera angles, imagine a fucking Max Landis video where he's giving some writing advice, and there's Casey Neistat style soul hip hop beats in the background. It would ruin the fucking video. It would ruin the video. He does it minimalistically and just talking to the camera. Sometimes in some of the videos he has like a cameraman and he's talking to the cameraman, or walking around talking to the camera. But in general, very, very simple vlog style, piece to camera style, I guess, like just straight on explaining, just talking, but like I'm doing now, nothing too complicated. Probably wouldn't even have thought about the framing or anything, lighting maybe, who knows, like just enough so that it's acceptable, has good sound quality, has decent visuals, and the storytelling is what keeps you enraptured, not the cinematography, not any of those techniques. And that is great, because it would take away from the focus, and the focus is on his words, and the focus is on his storytelling, his expressions, his intonation, all of the little things that come together to weave a good, interesting video from his perspective. You don't need, if anything fancy, like I don't know, a time lapse like Casey Neistat would throw in, or any of these other cutaways or something, would take away from that. It would actually lessen the impact of his storytelling. Any music in the background, I think, would take away from that sort of thing. And so, it's not about being fancy. It's not about being Casey Neistat and using drones and shit. It's about doing what's appropriate to your style of storytelling. It's about telling your narrative, about getting your point across in a clever presentation that actually reinforces your point and reinforces what you want to say, rather than something that doesn't, something that takes away from it, something that might even detract from the story you're trying to tell, or the information you're trying to give. Someone like Idea Channel was very popular for a while. Idea Channel had a great setup where he would stand in this third of the frame that I'm in, and then he would have relevant images and GIFs pop up in this third of the frame, and that way they didn't need to do constant cutaways to show images and stuff that he's talking about. They could have them show up in this corner of the screen, and it would keep your eyes interested, because they would be constantly moving between his eyes and his face to the images he's talking about, and they wouldn't need to do any, and it worked great. He could gesture towards them, because they were, that sort of thing, simple stuff like that helps reinforce the what you're trying to do, rather than not putting any thought into it. I made a whole kind of video about this concept called "This Is a Boring Shot," talking about how I think a lot of up and coming, or maybe even popular YouTube vloggers put little to no thought into their cinematography and into their filmic technique, whereas actually you can apply a lot of that stuff here, and it will massively improve your videos. Yeah, and I even talked about it in my Hidamari sketch in-depth analysis, where I talk about various. I talk about what's his name? Superhuman, I believe. Superhuman, and how his cinematography actually reinforces his point, even though he probably doesn't even do it intentionally, just probably instinctually or by happenstance. It happens to work. But you know, as I said, Casey Neistat, Max Landis, they're doing very basic shit. Casey Neistat is doing a basic daily vlog. Max Landis is doing basic, you know, narrative, just telling a story. And they're great, they work, but there's nothing that makes me sit there for days afterwards and contemplate the sort of stories they're telling, the sort of narrative they're weaving. I need that fucking art house shit. I want someone to, like, come along. Like, I need someone to who's, like, telling this using these techniques in a novel way. I need someone who's, like, a vlogger, but, like, you know, kind of got this it's got the narrative element, but it's also got sort of an artsy element. It's got like an artistic, like a kind of dark you know, referential art house kind of almost gonzo kind of element to it, which, you know, it just, Casey Neistat can't pull it off. I just wish there was someone like that.
Yeah. Talk to me nice and don't talk to me at all. Big money shit. I can't stop my ambitions. Fucking hundreds of bitches. Put a meal on my plate. 100 mil on the dishes. They screaming, Ferg, time me up. Ferg, time me up. Ferg, time me up. Ferg, time me up. I can't stop my ambitions. Fucking hundreds of bitches. Put a meal on my plate. 100 mil on my dishes. They screaming, Ferg, time me up. Ferg, time me up. Ferg, time me up. Ferg, time me up. I won't stop till I die. I got a natural high. And I won't stop till I die, cause I got a natural high. Now I won't stop till I die because I got a natural high. And I won't stop till I die because I got natural high.
It's finally happening. I've been talking about doing this for literally years, since like 2017. Or maybe later, maybe like 2018. Talking about doing the insomnia analysis for a long ass time. Didn't expect it in this video, did you? Didn't expect it in the middle of Denpa, did you? Didn't expect it in the middle of Denpa. Didn't expect the insomnia analysis in the middle of Denpa. No one expected it, cause that's the twist. That's why I'm a genius filmmaker, prodigy. I'm a child prodigy. Anyway, let's get on with the insomnia analysis. This is the bit where I have to do a very brief and quick description of what the fuck a digibro is. Oh god, how do I do this? Okay, so My Little Pony was a TV show, and then people liked it, and then this guy was like, what if I like analyze My Little Pony in a very basic way, but just like talk about the theming and stuff. And so this guy, who at the time called himself Digibrony MLP, started making pony analysis videos. MLP sort of, you know, died down. Stuff happened. I'm not a brony. I don't really know that much about it. Either way, Digibrony became Digibro, who became a sort of variety, but very heavily stuck on, heavily centered towards anime YouTube channel. I am simplifying things a lot. Very basically an anime YouTube channel, who in 2016 and around that sort of time started making some more experimental vlog style content on their second channel, which was at the time called Digibro After Dark. Insomnia analysis is really generally regarded as either the first or the most emblematic video of this period. One of my favorite YouTube videos of all time. The reason I'm being a little weird with how I'm saying names is that Digibro who used to be known as Conrad Collins, has since transitioned to female, and I kind of am rubbish at dealing with is a bad way to put it. Let me use the example of my good friend Star. Star is also a trans girl, and we're good friends. We've known each other for a while, and when she came out, I just have trouble adapting to new pronouns and new names and stuff. It's hard to get it flipped in my mind. If I met you or first knew you when you had already transitioned, I will have no problem with it. But I have trouble flipping the switch in my mind. It is out of no malice, as Star knows, because I was one of the first people that we talked very openly about gender stuff. So Star knows me very well and can vouch for me that I am not transphobic. I'm just autistic. I kind of suck at dealing with pronouns and names and stuff. So this is just a little warning that I might fuck it up later in this video, and I just want to make sure that everyone knows there's no bad blood or anything there. But yeah, Digi is now known as Digine, as in Onee-chan from Japanese, meaning older sister, which I think is an awful name for a channel, and I would much rather if she called her channel Digiko, which as in a play on Dojiko, the common anime trope, would fit much better, but I don't think that's going to happen. And to make it even more confusing, Digi's fiance is now known as Digibro instead, so it's all very confusing for someone who already struggles with that sort of, to remember all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to try my best, but that's why I'm using strange vagaries, and I will be probably falling back on the they pronoun just because there's no way I can make a mistake using they, right? So that tends to be my attitude in these sorts of situations. It's just a necessary bit of backstory really to understand the video. If you already know Digi's shit, shouldn't be a problem. But let's talk about what is insomnia analysis. I said it's like a vlog style thing, but how it's a vlog style thing, that's way too vague. What actually is it? It doesn't really have a name. I guess it's a vlog, but the best way to talk about it is to talk about it through its influences. And I was very careful with the YouTubers I picked in the previous segment, because I know that Digi is and has been a fan of those channels, Max Landis and Casey Neistat. A channel I didn't mention is a guy by the name of Endless Jess, who was also a very big inspiration on Digi. So, according to Digi's own words in my own research, Digi in this era was very inspired by Max Landis's videos, and also by Endless Jess's videos, especially the series called Beer Quest. Now, Beer Quest no longer exists on the internet because Jesse is also a very strange person who likes to delete his content. So I cannot find Beer Quest and cannot do the research on what it would have been like what he was inspired by. Exactly. See, I suck at this. It's hard for me. I can't find out what Digi was inspired by to make insomnia analysis because Beer Quest no longer exists. So I only have Max Landis to go on. But it's sort of a continuation of going by Jesse's other content. It's sort of a natural continuation of that sort of thing, where Endless Jess is more of a sort of postmodern, I guess, YouTuber, and I'm gonna be talking more about postmodernism when I talk more about Digi, because this video is quite postmodern, I guess, but so are some other things. In fact, you know what? Let's just do this now. So, arguably, by people who actually know what postmodern media means, Casey Neistat's videos could be said to be more postmodern than insomnia analysis. Why? You know those moments when you're in a Casey Neistat vlog and he's got the camera down and stuff, so he goes and he changes the zoom lens or he changes the focus? That's postmodern as fuck. Like, having their subject interact with the camera and acknowledge the existence of the camera as a physical object during the thing, that is super postmodern. Digi talking about the video itself in the video is internally referential, whereas the acknowledgement that this is a setup, that Casey Neistat is interacting with the camera, is not just referencing something that exists within the video, it's referencing the outside world beyond the video, which is, you know, super postmodernist. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. The words postmodernist don't really mean what people think they mean, although Insomnia Analysis is very postmodern work, and we'll talk more about, you know, some postmodern philosophy later, because I love to do that. But fuck that shit. That sounds fucking boring. Let's get into the fucking cinematography and theming and shit, bro. That's the good shit, man. That's my look. I'm a fucking film. I'm a film. I'm a movie. Look at me. Can you not see that I'm a movie? Can you not see I'm on your screen right now? I'm a movie, so I have area of expertise in this. And I want to talk about how Insomnia Analysis has the perfect, like, opening scenes of a YouTube video. It's so well done. It sets up everything you need to know about the characters and the world and everything, like a perfect introduction to a narrative, except in a completely non-traditional sense. And I don't think Digi knows any of this consciously. I think this is all just instinctual, which in a way makes it even more interesting. So, you know, to start off, you got the mise en scène, right? You got the mise en scène, this like dark lighting, a very harsh dark lighting in a room, right? You know, which is most similar to the lighting you get over here. Half of Digi's face is in like shadow. It's hard to even make out details, adding to this sort of vagueness, which will be a pursuing theme throughout the entire narrative. We're first introduced to Digi in the scene I copied for the introduction to this segment, walking through a door, dancing to Fergsomnia, drinking a beer. It sets up the character so perfectly that for the rest, like for the vibe you're going to be getting, it's like it's got this casualness to it and like this sort of drunkenness to it, but then also the darkness from the light, the harsh lighting. And then we transition into the next scene, or the next shot, sorry. We transition into the next shot, and it's just Digi talking about a sandwich, just talking about a bagel forever. And I've referenced this countless times. If you ever wondered why the entire Sacred Cow series starts with me talking about how wraps are the superior form of bread, it's a reference to Digi talking about a sandwich at the beginning of what blew up to be the 3 Insomnia Analysis videos, the 2 Metahole videos, the Gecko Estate videos, and, you know, a bunch of other shit as well. A huge series all started off with this person talking about a bagel. That was the whole reference that I was making in the Sacred Cow. Like, we're talking about bread types at the beginning of the series. It's kind of a reference, a trope, whatever. Trying to force a trope. I don't know what it was, but it was, you know, sort of a play on that, a parody. Not really a parody, a play on that. Let's just say an homage. That's a better word. So you get this drunkenness. And it's clearly played up. Like, you wouldn't drink the beer on camera if you didn't want people to know that you were drinking. You want people to know that character's drinking. And you want them to talk, you're talking specifically about the sandwich, but the great thing is, immediately from talking about the sandwich, the next scene is an analysis of the previous shot, where he was talking, she was talking about the sandwich, right? And it's genius. It's just genius. Because it sets up this fucking insane meta spiral that is just so emblematic of the Digibro character at the time. It's like a level above, man. It's a level above, because it's like art. It's not normal. It's not just like what everyone else is doing. You know, it's something. It's like almost like some thought was put into it, but who knows what was put into it? You can't know what the artist's intentions were, but you can look at their work. And the work we're looking at here is long, weird, got all sorts of side segments. Like, for example, while eating the bagel, at seemingly random times when there's a break or silence, this happens. Who knows what that means? Who knows what that means? I'm going to do my best to analyze it. My analysis of it is it's sort of setting up the unreality of the world. If not only can the entire color palette can switch on a dime, this is not, we're not witnessing an objective viewpoint here. We're witnessing an unreliable narrative. We're seeing the world from a subjective view through Digi's eyes, as it were. And this is like a signal to the audience that, you know, the world we're seeing is sort of this unreality. And the noise soundtracks, it's like, it's not only an unreality, but a purposefully harsh, purposefully unforgiving, non-compromising version of said subjective reality. This isn't like someone dumbing their personality down to be seen by viewers. This is a signal that not only is this world not real, but it also doesn't care what you think. It doesn't care to dumb itself down. It doesn't care to change the subjectivity to suit what the audience may want to see. That is my analysis of the noise scenes and the changes in color palette and the color grade for those bagel scenes. And you know, it just sets up, it's almost like a dream, but it's not a dream. It's this hikikomori or like neat-esque aesthetic of this person who's, you know, going insane in their room. And that's what the entire Sacred Cow was like a criticism of. But it all starts with Digi. It all starts with this very video. I mean, you could say it starts with Beer Quest, but I have no idea what the fuck Beer Quest was like. So we're going with this video. And it's this like, the way it's presented as like an unreality, it's as if it's presenting the world through the eyes of this person who doesn't leave their room, who doesn't know what time of day it is. It's definitely nighttime, but it could be, like no matter what time it is, it's always nighttime. Because this is Digi After Dark, remember? It's always After Dark on After Dark. No matter what time it is in the day, even if it's midday, it's still After Dark from the previous day, you know? It's that sort of thing. It's like, there's no sense of time, there's no sense of space. It's all just this surreal landscape of subjectivity, which brings us really into the artist's perspective and lets us see this work in a whole new light, in a way that someone like Casey Neistat could never do, because Casey Neistat has to present objectivity to avoid alienating his audience. If Casey Neistat was to admit how edited his videos are and how much is omitted for the sake of telling us a good narrative, it would break the illusion. It would crumble and the videos would be ruined because they're not built for that. They're not built to survive that. Whereas this Insomnia analysis is built with that in mind from the ground up. It is built specifically because of that fact. Specifically because of the fact that it is entirely subjective. And just to hammer home how we are like completely, this is a subjective, like abstracted, unreliable narrator character that we're viewing the world through, just to drill that right into your mind, the first subject is a long analysis about a bagel of a completely inconsequential and random object in the grand scheme of things. Never comes up later again in the series or in the later canon of Digi. Never comes up again. But the bagel represents the subjective desires of the main character. The bagel represents how this is what Digi is doing right now. Digi is currently eating a bagel, and therefore the video is about Digi eating a bagel. This isn't Digi is currently riding off to go save the world on a golden horse. This isn't Digi is, I don't know, what would it, about to tell you some scientific facts about the reality. This is Digi is eating a fucking bagel, and so you know what? You're gonna watch me eat this fucking bagel, and I'm gonna explain to you my entire fucking thought process behind eating this bagel, because this is what I'm doing right now. It's uncompromising, it's weird and out there as fuck, and somehow it just connects on a really deep level, because many people have similar thoughts about, you know, while they're eating, about the history of why, you know, I'm eating this bagel. As Digi goes on to explain in the video, why is Digi eating that bagel? Because I stay up all night is the exact cadence, because I've seen the video that many times that I know that. Because Digi stays up all night, the only things that are open that early in the morning are the bagel shops. And so, over time, Digi learned to become a bagel fan, because that's what you want to eat when you know, it's great food, and open early in the morning. Again, not only is this object representative of the subjectivity of the world, it's also being used to build character. It's also being used to do exposition about the world this character inhabits and their subjective viewpoint of that world. That they live in this sort of timeless, but it's somehow timeless and yet also always late. It's always too late for anything to be open. It's always slightly wrong. And therefore, you have to go to the bagel shops because that's the only thing that's open. But it turns out that's kind of great. These bagels are delicious, you know? It's genius. It's fucking genius. And then the next shot, the next section, the next scene, I guess you could say, the next scene is Digi then saying, at what point did that previous discussion about the bagel go from something anyone could say to something only I would say? When did it go from just something you would say to your friends or talk to your family about over dinner to something that I deserve to be paid for, to something that becomes my job as an analysis channel? Because at this point, Digi is now going one step further. It's actually a logical continuation of the whole bagel premise. First, we take a look at what we're doing in the current moment and analyze the meaning and history behind that action. What am I doing at the current moment? I'm eating a bagel. What is the narrative history behind this bagel? What is the character's history with this bagel? And, you know, so on and so on. And what does it represent? We've established that. On to the next scene. What am I currently doing in this moment on a more pulled back lens? Well, I'm currently making a video for my YouTube channel. I have this YouTube channel because I have this main channel where I do analysis. This is the Insomnia Analysis. It's a continuation of my analysis brand. So let's talk about that. Why am I allowed to do analysis? What makes me good at analysis? What makes me not good at analysis? What does analysis even mean? What does it mean to like analyze a bagel? Is such a thing even possible? If so, why am I good at it but the random person on the street is not? It's simply the same attitude but applied rather than to the exact moment. The same thing, just from a pulled back perspective. It's a thematic reoccurrence, but you don't even notice that because it feels like you're being dragged deeper into the meta wormhole. And that feeling of being dragged deeper into the meta of the video, the meta text, this sort of subjective layer placed on top of reality by the filmmaker, is kind of the appeal of the whole thing. It's kind of the appeal of the whole thing. And you can't do that without pulling back. So why wait? Why not just do it right near the beginning? Why not pull back the curtain immediately and let's have a conversation about it? Let's have a conversation about the curtain. What is this flimsy piece of fabric anyway? And you know, the points brought up are completely irrelevant. The actual you think anyone cares about like the taste of a chicken bagel or something like that? It doesn't matter that the actual literal information that's being given, that's not the point. The point isn't what's said, it's the subtext. It's what those pieces of information represent for the characters and for the narrative and for the world. It's not important, you know, at what point does Digi go from being a random guy on the street to being an analyst that deserves to be paid for it? Well, we all know, as well as Digi does, that it's all completely subjective, and the only difference is that one person happens to be good at explaining their thoughts, or one person happens to be popular for a variety of reasons. It's all just happenstance, subjectivity. There is no definite point where someone goes from undeserving of money to deserving of money for analysis, because what even counts as analysis? Many people probably wouldn't even count this video as analysis. Not this one, the Insomnia Analysis one. So, like, there is no defined point at which it switches. So, the point of talking about it is not to actually try and drill down during a philosophical investigation into what it means to analyze things, or into, like, why do I deserve to be paid for this? It's more so about, like, a vibe, or a feeling of being dragged down into the metatext, or a feeling of subjectivity, again, imposed by the author to reinforce this subjective worldview, as well as actually some of the contents. In this section, less so, but it's really telling the audience, hey, you know, the contents of this video, it will be, like, weird. It's more about that. It's more about giving the vibe of, like, the stuff I'm going to be talking about in this video, it's not just going to be the bagel. It's going to be why I talked about the bagel too. The contents of this channel, the contents of After Dark, we're talking about why I ate the bagel here on After Dark. We're talking about why I ate the bagel. And that is just a perfect description of the channel in general, and you know, a great description of Digi's character in general at this at this era. It was all about why I ate the bagel. It was all about the meta text and the sort of overarching pulled back lens of like what it even means to be what it even means to be a YouTuber, or to be in your room at all times. What are the philosophical implications of living the life of this character? What is the weird relationship between me and my audience? What is the weird relationship between me and my environment, my immediate environment, my room? What is the strange relationship between me, a critic, and the media I consume? A lot of people have talked about it. No one's done it in this way that is so personal and subjective and weird and sort of vague, like fuzzy edges, almost like the framing and the lighting of the actual cinematography has these fuzzy edges because the lights are so dim in the room. It all plays back into the theming, and that's, you know, it's some great... What the fuck am I talking about? What the fuck is this? This is an insomnia analysis. This is an insomnia analysis. I can't just do a real analysis. I have to be pretentious. Oh, you thought I was being pretentious? No. That was me pretending to be pretentious and know things about film. I don't know things about film. Sure, I did some analysis of the video, but that's not what you're here for. I can't just do a straight... It's like a trope at this point. Oh, well, I'm doing an insomnia analysis. Oh, okay. Time to get drunk, I guess. Don't have any choice in the matter, really. Don't have any choice. What the fuck? Oh, here it is. Don't have any choice in the matter, really. Got to get drunk. Don't really have any choice in it, really. I'm doing an insomnia analysis, and I'm doing insomnia analysis and that. Oh, it's got to be 1:30 in the AM, of course. Otherwise, it wouldn't count, isn't it? Because you see, the text has meta in it, so this also has to have meta in it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be cool. I'd be missing out on something. I'd be being too genuine. It's got to be meta. I've got to point out that I'm doing it. Otherwise, it's not a real video. Otherwise, it's not a real no thank you video because I'm not cool. You're being cool. You gotta be cool when you're doing a no thank you video. Otherwise, what the fuck? You know, I have to, of course, because I'm a fucking genius, because otherwise I'm not a genius, I have to recreate the tropes from insomnia analysis in my analysis of insomnia analysis. Otherwise, it could be anything, you know? It wouldn't be true to the artwork. It wouldn't be true to the artwork to just do an objective analysis of something that is so clearly trying to push this subjective view of reality. It wouldn't be fair to the artwork to do such a thing. So I have to get drunk, you see, officer. I have to get drunk, you see, officer, because otherwise it wouldn't be fair to the artist. It wouldn't be fair. Okay, I'm a moral person. I'm an ethical person. Officer, please. Have you ever heard of the categorical imperative, officer? Please, Officer, okay, listen, I know. Sir, listen, sir. I know. Have you ever heard of the categorical imperative? Please. Have you ever heard of the categorical imperative? It wouldn't be right, I tell you. It wouldn't be right unless I was to do such a thing. So I have to get drunk. I have to talk about me. Otherwise this would be a good video. It can't be a good video. It has to be subjective, regardless of how much it actually suits the narrative I'm going for. It has to be meta and weird. Otherwise, you know, it would just be good. It can't just be good. It has to be good and. I have to explain why I'm eating the bagel. I can't just eat the bagel. I can't just eat the bagel and explain why insomnia analysis is well shot. I can't just explain why insomnia... I can't just eat the bagel. I have to talk about why I'm eating it. And that's why I have this beer. Otherwise I'm just enjoying a nice bagel. Dun 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 dun. Ba 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 da da.
You know, it's funny because obviously I'm editing this video, So, like, why not just put that little song in the video? I don't know what it's called.
It's called Also Sprach Zarathustra. It's by Strauss.
I've actually gotten a content ID for that song before. I'm pretty sure that song is a classical piece that is definitely in public domain. But I got a content ID because I used specifically the clip from the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. And I guess they have a copyright on their production of the song.
Well, you see, in terms of music, copyright is actually what's known as a bill of rights, or a bundle of rights, sorry, which means it's a group of rights stuck together, specifically two rights, the compositional rights and the performance rights. So, there is one set of rights which goes towards the actual composition of the song, which would be the tune, bum, 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 bum. And then there is another set of rights which goes for that specific performance of that song. So what you got a copyright strike for is not the composition, which would be in public domain, but that orchestra-specific performance. If that wasn't the case, then orchestras wouldn't be able to, make money selling their CDs. In theory, in capitalism, obviously, of course, copyright is bullshit and none of this is true, but under the law, they wouldn't be able to copyright their performance of it, so they wouldn't be able to get royalties, the performers that trained, the classical performers in that orchestra. So that's why you can find many classical songs that are actually copyrighted, because copyright is actually a bundle of rights, not just one thing. It's actually two separate things. At least that's how it is in the UK law, which is what I've studied as a musician. It might be slightly different in the US, but I'm pretty sure it works in a similar way.
Even though that movie's also ancient. I've also had a content ID on another classical piece before. It's funny, they don't hit you for the song itself. What they're hitting you for is their rendition of it. You can copyright your performance of a classical piece. Which is kind of fucked up, because if it's fair use for you to take that classical piece and just reproduce it, how the fuck could it not be fair use for me to then take your reproduction and use it in a different context?
That's because it's not actually fair use, Digi. Again, I don't know the laws in the US, but fair use is for a very specific set of cases. It's not they're not using the classical piece under fair use. They have the rights to it, just as you have the rights to the score for the classical piece, because they have the compositional rights, which are in the public domain. It's just their performance rights that aren't that they've copyrighted, that they can claim you on. They can use the DMCA to claim you on, right? But they couldn't claim you for having the sheet music. Unless it was a specifically published sheet music. Sheet music is really complicated. I don't understand the law behind sheet music. There's all sorts of weird publishing stuff. You should be able to get the sheet music from a classical piece like that fairly easily. The reason they're able to do it is not because of fair use, it's because there were two separate rights there. For example, they couldn't just play another performer's or another orchestra's version of that song, which I'm not going to attempt to pronounce again because it's in German, and I'm not very good at that. They couldn't just use another orchestra's rendition of that and pass it off as their own, because they don't own the rights, the performance rights, or the recording of that orchestra performing the song. So it's not under fair use, whereas if you were trying to use it, that would be using fair use laws, which would need to be transformative. And, in the eyes of me, someone trained in, post-structuralist theory and stuff, I understand that any context changes a piece of art, and it would be, of course, transformative to use it in a video. However, under the eyes of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act and the United States government, that is not the case, and you probably wouldn't win that in court. And under the eyes of YouTube, it's not worth bothering to sue people. DMCA is weird. I don't understand it fully. No one understands it. No lawyers fully understand it. It's overly complicated and kind of outdated. It was drafted by lawmakers who didn't really know what they were doing back in the 90s, so what can you do, eh?
I had this argument before about Anita Sarkeesian. I've still never watched any of her videos. I don't really give a fuck about her politics, but something I take umbrage with is that everyone had a problem with her using footage from Let's Plays uncredited. And all I could think was, Let's Plays take a game that's not theirs and just talk over it and release it and make money from it. Most of them anyway. So they're already entirely on the basis of, without permission, using someone else's creative property to, you know, make their own creative property that piggybacks on the original. I would actually say that what she was doing, again, I haven't actually seen her videos, but what she was doing was probably even more transformative than what they were doing with the game, since Let's Plays kind of rely on the game to carry part of what they're doing, whereas an analysis video could really do with or without the footage. It's just there for the sake of convenience because it's a visual medium and you're making a video.
Well, as far as I understand as the law, the reason that video games are allowed, game Let's Plays are allowed under fair use is because the game wouldn't exist, the footage wouldn't exist without someone to play it. So it couldn't be made any other way. There has to be someone to play it, otherwise the footage wouldn't exist, it would just be a static screen. Video games need some interactivity, at least most of them. That's why they fit under that law. Again, it's also partly because it would be bad press for companies to start, for game companies to start striking down Let's Plays of their videos. In fact, Let's Plays of their games, sorry. In fact, they used to do that, especially Nintendo were famous for doing that for a long time, especially over the soundtracks to their games. But it's such bad press, and it doesn't make any sense for them to do because Let's Plays are giving them free advertising. So again, legally speaking, it's kind of a tenuous grey area. I feel like there is an argument to make that Let's Plays are completely transformative, but, you know, these big games, again, just the same as the Let's Play wouldn't exist without the player, it also wouldn't exist without the game. So is it like a collaborative project, in which case would every Let's Player need to get in touch with the game studio that created the game they're playing? It's a whole mess, and I'm glad that companies figured out that you shouldn't pursue litigation against Let's Players.
Personally, I crib from Let's Plays all the time when I actually do game videos. I'll use my own footage if I have it, but if I don't have that specific moment, I'm not gonna play the whole fucking game over again to get something, you know?
Yeah, you're right. I feel you, man.
Get a game like Dark Souls where you have like a million different play styles you can use. And if you want to comment on multiple play styles, you'd have to either play through the game fucking 50 times to get all the footage you need, or just look up somebody who's already done it and use theirs. But yeah, the idea that a company can just take monetization from my video based on a piece of music that they didn't create from over 100 years ago. Absolutely laughable. In other words, this goes both ways. I'd be just as mad, you know, if the Let's Player tried to sue Sarkeesian or whatever, or tried to take her monetization for their Let's Play. It'd be the same thing.
I mean, I agree with you that it's completely laughable, Digi. Sadly, the law doesn't agree. I don't know. And also, fighting against copyright is completely unprofitable. So the people who have the desire to change the litigation, change the law, around copyright, don't have the money or the funds to actually have the legal counsel and the to fight against these big corporations, and not only them, but their influence on government through whatever it's called, super PACs or whatever. You know, people. What's the word? When people pay to have their government, you know what I'm talking about, that sort of shit. It's fucked. There's no one standing up for the common person here, and the only people we have to look for, at least in the US, the only people you have supposedly on your side is the FTC, and they're also paid off. So there's no winning, really. I think copyright is just gonna be fucked until there's some sort of massive failure in the system which completely ruins everything, and they're forced to rewrite the laws, at which case it'll probably be too late.
But I also think the Let's Play deserves to exist. I think all of them deserve to exist. Every little bit of transformation deserves to exist. Because it's different. It's inherently different. Like, you know, if you had Cheetos, and then you had Flaming Hot Cheetos, Flaming Hot Cheetos are basically just the Cheetos but with, like, Texas Pete on them. That's how they were invented. Literally, a janitor would put Texas Pete on his Cheetos, and he told his friends about it, and then he, like, sold the idea to Cheetos, and he made a fuckload of money off of it.
I didn't know
Flaming
that.
Hot Cheetos.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Now, in that case, the corporation got in on the sort of grassroots operation this guy was doing. I don't know how he could have monetized without that, but he did make a lot of money. They actually paid him for his transformative version of their work. That's a food company with a more advanced idea, a fucking snack company with a more advanced and modern idea
snack company
of how to deal with copyright and fair use than modern media companies. I've never thought of or made that comparison before, and I doubt anyone else has, but I really like it now that I've thought about it. I think it's hilarious that there's companies like Nintendo who would like take down Let's Plays of their games when Let's Plays are like probably selling more games now than reviews or any amount of advertising. Like, the internet is, like, word of mouth is now how shit gets out there. You want as many people talking about your thing as possible, especially if it's positive, you know?
Well, Digi from the past, since you live in 2016, you couldn't have possibly known that in my time, companies have really bought into this idea and are doing a lot of sponsorships of Let's Players and live streamers and all sorts of things. And it's kind of terrible. It's kind of rubbish because they're no longer able to be impartial, and all their gameplays have to go through the filter of the corporation and their legal department and their PR department to make sure they're not saying anything too edgy. It's kind of not great. So I mean, I understand why you wanted the situation to change. It's better that they exist at all, and it's better that the creators make money from it. But from a consumer point of view, from a viewer point of view, like, the situation was almost better back then, before the companies realized what the sort of marketing capabilities they had in their hands. Because now, you know, these top streamers are making big bucks, and they're just coming closer to celebrities, mainstream celebrities, who are getting paid sponsorship deals from all these companies, and it's just kind of lame, man. It's just kind of lame. It's not freedom anymore, man. You know, it's not freedom anymore. But I understand why you would have thought that back in your time, Digi. But you know, as someone who lives in the modern day, it's there's no winning. There's no simple out. Like companies realized this and they immediately exploited it. Such is the nature of capitalism.
What I find very interesting about the Digibra After Dark channel from like 2016 to 2018 kind of area, from Insomnia Analysis 1 all the way through to the end of the Gecko Estate, is that it's not simply, I mean, we're talking about Insomnia Analysis here, so I'll try and narrow it down to Insomnia Analysis. Insomnia Analysis is not simply a vlog, but it's like an example of a lifestyle, or sort of a showcasing of a way to be. You know, what I find so cool about the intro to Insomnia Analysis is that Digi's drinking beer, right? It's not just talking about a bagel. It's not just rambling about the meta of the channel. It's almost an entire philosophy, an entire metaphysics, even an ethics. It's like a way of being. It's not necessarily an ought statement. It's not saying one ought to live like this. It's simply pointing out, hey, this is a way you could live. And I find that really cool because it's a sort of innovative take on a way to be, you know? I think that's what really affected me so much about it. And it's really what connects to me about Digi as a whole, why I can't seem to shut the fuck up about Digi in all of my fucking videos. This will be the last one, by the way. I will try my best to never mention Digi again after this. I truly believe that I will. This is the closure that I need. But why do I even need closure, right? Because my channel is so inspired by Digi. I made a whole fucking series about how I made the sacred cow, right? I shouldn't need to make this video, but in a sense this is another part of the sacred cow. So it's like the true finale. Except it's not, it's disconnected. But it's a spiritual sequel. I don't know. It's not even really that. It's its own thing. What I mean to say is, what's interesting is that he's drinking beer. Because the beer is like a physical manifestation of a slightly altered state of consciousness. A sort of, but it's not like, you know, doing cocaine or smoking weed. Beer is like a rough and ready, down and dirty, alcohol in general, rough and ready, down and dirty kind of drug. It's about opening your inhibitions. It's not about expanding your mind. There's no pretension to it. You get it from the shop, you don't get it from some guy. You go to the shop and buy it. It's a unifying factor, you know. It's a unifying factor. And I think, you know, maybe it's that unifying factor that attracted me in the first place. I don't even remember how I got into Digi anymore. I'm pretty sure I started watching their anime videos at some point, but I don't know how I ended up on Digi's second channel, and I really don't know how I ended up in Digi's community. I have no idea how I ended up watching Star's videos and talking to Star as a sort of sub-member of the Digi community. That's how I saw Star at the time. And I think we all perceived ourselves that way at a certain time. I certainly perceived myself that way. I remember talking to Star, seeing Star's videos, commenting on them and stuff. And I made my first attempt. It's called Cardistry Thesis. I don't know how many people have seen it on this channel, but if you go to my main No Thank You channel and you scroll down in the upload section, you can find a video with an all black thumbnail called Cardistry Thesis. And that was my first attempt at what would eventually become this channel style of content, and it was entirely inspired by insomnia analysis. It was entirely inspired by insomnia analysis, except it's instead of being an analysis of insomnia, it was a thesis on cardistry. If you don't know what cardistry is, there's a pack of playing cards here. I can show you what cardistry is. It's, you know, it's that kind of thing. It's, yeah, doing fancy stuff with a deck of cards. And it was kind of an examination of the meta of cardistry, mixed with like some more gonzo personal shit. Honestly, I can't tell you how well it holds up. It's kind of hard for me to, I mean, it's alright. It's not, I've definitely improved on the formula since then, but it has some definite authenticity. But it was, I remember my first, when I sent it to Star, I believe, on Discord, and I said I made an insomnia analysis ripoff, and Star said that's my favorite type of content. And I was like, yeah, it's my favorite type of content too. Because it's not just the meta text, elements, the sort of self-analysis elements, turning this profession that you do to other people, turning it inwards onto yourself and your sort of imaginary self that you portray for the video. It's not just, even though that is a big part of it, it's not just that, it's also the presentation of a way to be. In Digi's dark room, going insane in a room full of naked anime girls, title of the famous video, the first video that begins that arc of Digi's life, really. Insert clip. It's going to be a pain to edit. It's not going to be a pain, it's just I'm not going to like it, editing it. I'm not going to enjoy having to fucking download that shit. I'm going to be like, why did I do that?
Hey everyone, apologies for the rather lackluster audio quality and shaky ass video that you're going to be getting here. I was thinking maybe it'd be easier for me to just vlog some of the random thoughts that came into my head if I wasn't worried about always hooking up a mic and making sure the camera's all stable and stuff. I mean, I don't blame you if you don't want to watch it, but this video is going to be fucking insanity anyway. So I got to tell you guys about how one of the ways that I just lose my mind on a regular basis. One of the things that causes me to go insane.
But the problem with Digi is Digi's Digi, you know? Digi represents like a tiny thing, a speck. Digi has Digi Bro at the time, Digi Nay Now, the main channel, the anime analysis channel with these big videos, and some of them are great. Don't get me wrong. I like some of the Digi Bro videos, but what the fuck does she know about cameras? I like my favorite Digi Bro main channel videos are the Nanoha franchise retrospective and the Akiyuki Shinbo in the 90s and Shinbo in the 2000s series, and We Have Accepted Mediocrity is also a really good video, and Anime is Getting Lazy with its meta. Those are my favorite Digi videos, but mostly I would say if I was to like, I mean the thing is that the second two in that list, We Have Accepted Mediocrity and Anime is Getting Lazy with its meta, people are fucking... I can hear Discord notifications going off. These motherfuckers having a conversation without me. I'm trying to talk to you in the future. Yeah, I know you're gonna watch this. I'm gonna try to talk to you in the future. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. I don't even know if you can hear that on camera, but I can hear it. I gotta go check what they're talking about on Discord. Mute it. I'm gonna mute it. It's Star talking about Ashton O'Jawline. Ashton O'Jawline. I should get Star in this video. Whatever. Where was I? The Digi lifestyle type of thing that Digi sort of represented was this platonic ideal of an otaku. The reason I like those, you know, I've always been one for raw data. When I played Counter-Strike a lot, I would always have CL_view_pos1, show pos1 enabled. Even though I almost never looked at it, just so that I could see my speed and position if I ever in the happenstance needed it. Just because I need maximum data, I would always have netgraph1 open so I can see my ping and where it's not like connection to the server stuff and FPS counter. When I play Minecraft, I play with hitboxes on, F3+B. I always play with hitboxes on because I need maximum data. My top 10 anime contains Horizon in the Middle of Nowhere, the very epitome of maximum data at all times. And so when I watch the Shimbo in the 90s and 2000s and the Nanoho franchise retrospective, and anime is getting lazy with its meta, what I see is someone who has this data and is simply presenting it to me. I mean, I could probably say the same things about anime and its meta, knowing all of those shows that Digi talks about in that video, because it's not that complicated. Digi talks vaguely about... I don't even think Digi mentions Gundam in the video except as a joke. Digi mentions Gundam as a joke. I don't remember if Digi mentions Gundam genuinely in the video. But Gundam, Evangelion, fucking Hatsune Miku? No Hatsune Miku. No Hatsune Miku. Haruhi, the melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, fucking Colors, Phantom World, which is where the video starts. Myriad Colors Phantom something. I've never seen that show. It doesn't look very good. Phantom Lord? Is it? I don't know. I've never seen it. I know it's KyoAni, but I don't really care about it. Talks about Monogatari, talks about Ava. Did I mention Ava already? I don't remember. Yeah. Talks about Saikano. No, not Saik. Is it Saikano? I don't remember. Or one of the similar ones, like My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu, or whatever that one's called. Something like that. I've seen all those shows. I know all those shows. I drew the same connections that Digi says in those videos. But Digi puts it in such a... When I saw that video, I hadn't seen all those shows. I didn't understand the meta for the first time. But also, it's about Digi's presentation. Digi says it in a very good way. And I'm going on a tangent here. What I mean to say is, Digi presents this otaku lifestyle in the After Dark vlogs. This hypothetical, in my room surrounded by naked anime girls, drinking alcohol, high-tech lowlife, almost cyberpunk. Hey, remember how half of this video was about how cyberpunk isn't relevant anymore? You think I did that for a reason, maybe? Let's see if we can draw the connections here. Audience? Come on, guys. I need to use your brains here. Come on, guys. Are you drawing connections? Please. I need a fucking willing audience. I need a smart audience. If my audience is too dumb, then what the fuck is the point? And I'm always worried about that. It's not even dumb. I'm sure you're perfectly smart. But it's like smart in the particular areas that I need you to be smart in to understand. I'm sure you're really great at whatever you're great at, but I feel like this video may be lost on most people unless you're very particularly intelligent in particular areas that I also happen to know about, which is, you know, just completely arbitrary, but so is everything. And that's also a very Digi thing. It's also a very Digi thing, is this sort of arbitrariness. That's kind of what makes it great, this lifestyle. But there's fucking problems, man. The Digi lifestyle has fucking problems. As we saw, because Digi, as we all know, fans of Digi, as we all know, Digi no good no more. Digi become bad. I don't want to make this a video about how Digi bro bad now. I don't want to make this a video about how Digi bro bad now. This is like, it's not even novel to point out at this point that Digi bro bad now. And plus, there's no way I will be able to, in a YouTube video, say anything better than the album Cringe by my good friend Princess Plunderphonics, which if you haven't seen it, I mean listen to it. I would highly recommend listening to, especially if you're a fan. If you are or were a fan of Digi at any point. Incredible album. Definitely I would say a masterpiece. Just so much genius shit in that fucking album, man. I'm just thinking about it now, I'm just remembering some of those tracks, like, so much fucking innovative shit in that fucking album. And that's what I'm saying, is that the shit that Digi was innovating it's a little like Cyberpunk. Like, it was very clever when it happened. And it still holds up in the same way that Blade Runner is still a great movie. But it's no longer enough. In 2020, it's no longer enough. It was like a beginnings to something. You know, the Insomnia Analysis was the beginning, and you know, Gecko Estate was like the act 2. Because I didn't even mention in this video, I mentioned it once, but Insomnia Analysis has 3 parts, of which part 1 is really good. Actually, they're all really good. Then there's the Meta Hole, which has 2 parts, and then there's the Gecko Estate, which has a bunch of other parts, although the Gecko Estate is thematically separate, I would say. They're all separate from each other, but they're spiritual successors. You know, Insomnia Analysis is its own thing, except Insomnia Analysis 2, which is a completely different thing. But it's also really cool. And then you got the Meta Hole, which is all about the meta of videos, especially on Digi's main channel, but like sort of very, very focused on meta text. And then you got the Gecko Estate, which was, you know, its own whole fucking thing. And that was a key distinction, because that was the transition from beer to marijuana. That was the Digi's transition from beer to weed, and that was, you know, it's alright. There's good Gecko Estate episodes. There's also not so good Gecko Estate episodes. I don't think the market undulation thing was particularly great, but everyone knows Everything is Devilman is one of the best Digi videos, so you know it has its ups and downs. And then there's even more later on, you know, Lateralis, which is good, and the one about digging, which is bad. You know, it had its ups and downs, the series, but at this point it's played out, because Digi isn't the same person anymore, the world isn't the same anymore as it was in 2016, or 2017, or whatever. The landscape has changed, and Digi isn't Digi enough anymore, you know? Digi was at first too, like, propped up, too stable. Went through this weird phase for a year or so, year or two, whatever, year and a half-ish. Had a wife now, you know? Has all this shit going on. Has all these stuff that is just unrelatable, not able to build on for a lifestyle. And so that's where you get these, like, you have to take a look at some of these other people. I mean, it's similar to Jesse, actually. It's similar to Endless Jess. In that Endless Jess is like, has this distinctive style, which does also play with the medium a lot. You know, Horseshoe Finale, of course, the classic Horseshoe Finale plays with the medium a lot. Endless Jess constantly, but it's played out. Like, the Endless Jess thing is just make a good video and then be like, oh, I can't believe I'm a YouTuber, I'm wasting my life, blah blah blah. At this point, that's played out. Every YouTuber says the same thing, even the popular ones. Everyone acknowledges the sort of nihilism inherent to being any sort of digital influencer, or even just being online in the first place. It's not novel anymore. And so Endless Jess, you know, on this kind of, I don't know if that's why, I'm sure it's a very, very small reason, but I think it's part of it, even though it's a small part of it, why Endless Jess doesn't really upload anymore. You know, the last Endless Jess videos were one where he kicks a ball around, and one where he talks about wrestling in a completely unironic way. And that's a pretty good video, the wrestling one, even though I don't care about wrestling. I feel like if I cared about wrestling, it'd be way better, but you know, it is what it is. The trends died, and there are these other people now. These people who are like, you know, the neat YouTubers. And they're separate from Digi shit. For sure. I'm sure most of them don't even watch anime or Digibro or whatever. They're separate from Digi shit. But there are these neat YouTubers who represent an adjacent ideology of in your room going insane. Again, stuff I was criticizing in The Sacred Cow. an adjacent ideology, even if not directly related, at least adjacent. We're talking, yeah. And these people, then it's not necessarily a bad thing. For example, Mr. Dagger's IRL. Pretty good channel. Not amazing, not like 10 out of 10 content, but pretty good channel who fits into this category. You know. And it is what it is. But it's kind of shit. As in it's just completely lacking, because a NEET is just a, what is it? A NEET, a miserable pile of secrets, you know? It's just an amalgamation of nothings. You know, Digi ended up just recreating Casey Neistat. You know, Digi drinks beer. But this is me. I like to spice my beer up, you know. Beer just isn't strong enough for me anymore. So if you want to be me, you can't just play by the rules. And you can't just do what's already been done. I don't know where the fucking lid for that just went. Oh my god, that's strong. That was stronger than I intended it to be. Where the fuck did the lid just go, bro? What the fuck? If Digi bad now, then every Digi channel is destined to be bad now, because they're all following the same formula, right? So they will eventually lead down the same road. And nothing is more emblematic of how you can be the sort of Digi archetype. Pretty much a homebody. Even though Digi goes outside all the time, it's not like full-on hikikomori, fucking isolation, never goes outside. It's just homebody, you know? Homebody, relatively isolated, relatively autistic, kind of into weeb shit. You can represent that archetype, and you can just go off the deep end. You can be a NEET, you know, and you can just not be good. That doesn't automatically make you good. As we established in the previous segment, there are various things that make Digi good in terms of thematic relevance, in terms of cinematography, in terms of framing devices, in terms of characterization, environmental storytelling, mise-en-scène, set design, lighting, meta text, postmodernism, media shit, literacy, analysis. There's all these things, and if you're lacking them, or if you don't do them well enough, well, God knows what could become of you. Something like that, it would be a monster. It would be unfathomable. It would be a kaiju behemoth of awfulness. A kaiju behemoth of awfulness stomping through Tokyo. I'm sure glad nothing like that exists in real life.
Okay, so I made a video like this a while back, something similar to this, but I wanted to make a different kind of video that is similar to the video I made before. Basically talk about NEET YouTubers again, but I am going to put them into categories of these NEET YouTubers. Princess Plunder Phonics, he's transgender.
As much as I would like it to be, this is not a YouTuber diss track. This is not a drama video. I'm not a drama channel. I'm not trying to start drama. This is not a Yoshika Miyako Red, Manotsuki, Reimu insult video or call out video or whatever. As much as I would like to, it doesn't serve any purpose, and let me tell you why. Reimu is such a bad person, such a bad channel. And you know, I would describe him as existentially bad. Something so awful it threatens your idea of humanity. Something so stupid. It's like it single-handedly lowers your idea of the average person by multiple IQ points. You know, I know Yoshika Miyako Red, which I refer to him as that because he keeps changing his name all the time. And you know, the reason he changes his name is because he's completely uncomfortable with himself, and he can't find a consistent identity that he's happy with, but he's too afraid to actually confront his own flaws. So instead he'll keep changing his channel name. He'll keep trying to flip between sort of these vague surface level identities, it literally in the most surface level way of just a name, and they're always referential. You'll notice they're always referential to some other media, because you know he has no conception of himself, and he's too afraid to be self-critical, so he can never grow. So he will just flip between identities forever, and never grow as a human being because he's too stupid. But as I said, sorry. Quite this vodka beer has quite a lot of vodka in it. Ooh, quite a lot of vodka. But as I said, this is not drama, and the reason it's not drama is because this is what Yoshika Miyako Red lives for. Red Manotsuki Reimu. You know, I should just call him by his real name. Joshua Phallus, I believe, is his real name. And the fact that his name is Phallus, you know, the word for penis, that's rather amusing. So I'll just refer to him as Joshua, which I believe is his real name. I don't know if that is his real name. I might be wrong, but I'm just gonna call him Joshua. But even though I might be wrong. Anything you can say about Joshua's channel being bad, it doesn't matter, because that's not the point. The point is, look, I know that Red Joshua, he's not dedicated enough. He will never watch to this point in the video by his own accord. But there is a small chance that someone who's a fan of both me and him will send him this part of the video. Or there's even a smaller chance that he will actually have watched this far, because I know he does watch my videos. And I just want to make it clear that if he is aware of this existing, he will lose. And here's why. Because Joshua thinks of himself as the center of the universe. And because he's the center of the universe, he is incredibly thin-skinned. He cannot take any sort of insult. He's basically like a special snowflake type of human being. That's how he sees himself, as like the one single special guy, mummy's special boy. That's how he sees himself. So if he is aware that I insulted him in any way, he sees this as like a personal attack, not only on like me or you or me would see it as just someone insulting him, but his identity is so fragile that he sees it on a personal attack on the root of his being. And so he will reply. Now, if this was a video by itself, he would have made a video response to it, because he loves to make YouTube drama. He really loves that. He thinks it's an epic troll. I'm not sure why. I think he thinks it's still like 2014 or whatever. Maybe he just hasn't matured since childhood. But the point is that the second that Yoshika Miyako Red Joshua Manotsuki Reimu whatever replies to this, whether in DMs, whether in video form, that's the instant he loses, because that is the instant he proves beyond reasonable doubt that he truly thinks of himself like that he truly thinks of himself as some sort of indestructible force, and his opinion is so limited, his IQ is so low. You know, I'm using that meme because he really likes to use that meme. I would like to see a result of his IQ test, to be honest. As far as I'm aware, he has literal brain damage, but I don't know.
Until proven otherwise, I will continue to clown on him. But I won't, because he doesn't really deserve my breath. What I'm trying to say is that he is such a pussy. He's so fragile that he won't be able to take this without having to have the last laugh, because his identity is so fragile that if someone were to insult him and he were to find out about it and not reply, that would to him be cuckolding. But because his identity is so fragile, he couldn't simply move on with his life, because he needs to prove that he's the best, because he needs to prove it because he doesn't believe it, because he knows it's not true, because he knows he's somewhere deep down, he's just fucking knows he's insignificant, but he can't allow that to come to his conscious mind. He needs that to stay in the subconscious, because if it comes to his conscious mind, it will threaten him, because he'll need to do some actual self-criticism. He will need to actually grow as a human being, and he can't allow himself to do that and retain his current personality and worldview. And this is the reason that it's not okay. This is the reason that the indie vlog, neat YouTuber, digibro, whatever, sphere is not okay, and it needs to be evolved, because you end up with Yoshika Miyako Reds on my lawn. You end up with way too many Yoshika Miyako Reds on my lawn. Play the clip.
It's just insane to me that these people have the gall to come onto my videos and say these things. But the thing is that they come into my videos with the mindset that they would come into a Red video with. Or they look at Red, and this is with all due respect to him, like, I'm just talking from their perspective, not mine. You know, they look at, like, Red, and they go, oh, it's this middle class, you know, Korean guy, why is he so sad? You know, he has everything set up for him, why is he sad? And of course that's bullshit, because, you know, everyone has the right to feel bad. You know, suffering is relative. It's not something you can control. Mental illness is not something you can control. And very often, the people who are experiencing these problems, the context surrounding them and why they happen are much more deeper and complex than you think at first glance. But they look at someone like him, and they go to my channel expecting me to be the exact same way. And I don't mean this as like a diss on him, because I respect where he's coming from, but I'm just saying that, you know, the people who watch his videos to, like, hate watch them and be like, oh, look at how cringy this mentally ill guy is, you know, look at how cringy this Hoppa is, which I don't think Red is cringy, but they do. That's the thing, is, like, they watch his videos in order to feel better about themselves, you know, because they hate themselves so much that the only way they can ever feel good is just by mocking other people and bringing other people down. That's what cringe culture is. It's a bunch of people who don't feel good enough about themselves, and so they have to look at people who they view as inferior to them, or in some cases are jealous of.
And that's not the sort of person anyone wants around, man. It's not the sort of person anyone wants around. You can't do away with them from society. There's always going to be stupid people. It is what it is. There's always going to be annoying people. It is what it is. Oh, fuck. I just realized I completely forgot this whole section of the video I was going to make about autism and schizophrenia. I'll just put the image up here. Here's the image of here's Yoshika Miyako Red's position. You'll see more later on in the video, I guess. Since I haven't done it yet, I guess it will have to come later. Probably in chapter 3. Because these sorts of people exist, because these sorts of, you know, there are plenty of really interesting, intelligent people who are making these low fidelity, sort of uncorporatized little corner, I will say, like digging out their own little tiny audience and not making any attempts to grow it type of channels. Like, for example, the OED Loves Me Not, or Misanthrope on a Pilgrimage, which I believe changed her name on YouTube at some point, but I don't remember her new name, so I'll just call her that. Or Star, or Princess Plunderphonics, or Dodesmite, or Jalay Caucus. I'll pronounce it like that because I don't know how it's pronounced. Jalay Lane Caucus. Is it French? Lane Caucus. I don't know. Great channel, by the way. Hope you're watching this video. I have no idea how to get in touch with you, but I would like to be friends because you seem cool. You know, these people who are actually doing something interesting or innovative in any way, no, not allowed. Not allowed. What I'm saying is we can't lump us in. You can't have a genre that is made up of someone as insignificant as Red, Malotsuki, Joshua Phallus, someone you know, as sex obsessed or whatever he is, with us. Because we don't represent the same thing. You know, we represent this way of being, and they represent just surface level nothingness, just an aesthetic, just a pure ideology. They represent pure ideology, whereas we represent, you know, something to break through the perspective of ideology, something to actually challenge the viewer. And I'm not being pretentious here. I mean, I am being pretentious here, but I'm saying that's maybe not all of us have succeeded. I don't know if I've ever succeeded in that, but we're at least striving towards a goal. That's what I'm saying here. There's definitely a very easy distinction to make. And so even, look, it's cool because even if I never see Red's response to this, even if Red never sees this, or even if Red only replies to it in DMs, there is no way for me to lose. That's what's fascinating about it. Because if Red ignores it, then Red will feel like, I don't know why I'm calling him Red. Let me just call him Joshua, since I believe that's his real name. If Joshua ignores it, then he, you know, he's seen it and not replied, in which case I have the last word, I win. And if Joshua responds, even in private messages, even in DMs to his friends, I've proven that he can't take any criticism and grow as a person. There is no way for him to win. I've got him in checkmate. We always win. We always win. Even though we always lose. Because there's always people like him. There's always people who will destroy your worldview. And I didn't even... There's nothing you can do about it, really. Because the barrier to entry is too low. The barrier to entry is too low. It's just point a camera at yourself. And there's no incentive to do anything interesting with it. There's some people that do, but no incentive to do so. So you're gonna end up with the most popular people like Joshua over here with his 4,000 sub-botted subscribers. You know, by the way, yes, he did use a sub-bot. I have evidence. And my evidence is Star told me, so if I'm wrong, blame Star. You know. But it's kind of depressing. It's kind of fucking depressing. When you see not even... Let's get out of this tiny niche YouTube drama. Because I've already gone on about him for too long, for more than he fucking deserves. Let's like, neat YouTube as a whole. There's even this conception that such a thing exists. It's like... It's fucking just... It's depressing, man. Like, I'm okay with being lumped in with Plunder and Carla and Jalay Lane Caucus, however the fuck you pronounce it, and Star. I'm okay with that, but then to lump me in with these other people that I don't give a fuck about, or I even actively dislike, it's just depressing. And to know that we're all considered to be part of the same thing, despite the fact that we're completely, like, this certain group are making, from a philosophical stand, like, the metaphysics behind our videos is completely different. It's depressing, man. It feels like we're fighting a losing battle, and it's not even a popularity contest. But if it's not a popularity contest, what do? You need to have some sort of evidence, right? You need someone to watch it. Why would I put so much effort into making this very video? It's already like 2 hours long. How many people are actually watching this far? My videos never get more than like 150 views, right? Let's say. So, I mean, very rarely. And like, you know, to watch 2 hours in at this point, or whatever the fuck we're at, I don't even know. I don't even know how long I've been going. Like, who is actually watching this far? And why am I putting so much effort into it? It's just like, why? I don't know why. I can't explain it to you. It just feels like I'm fighting a losing battle. You know, I didn't even want to get drunk tonight. I didn't even want to get drunk. You can hear me, I'm fucking sniffly. You know why? I have a very, very minor cold. I think it's a cold. I'm pretty sure it's not Karanga. But I have a very minor cold, right? And I'm extending my cold. By getting drunk, I'm weakening my immune system. I'm extending my cold by at least a day or two. By at least a couple days, right? Just because I need to make this video. This is like one of those rare occasions where I need to get drunk for a video. Now I know how Funhouse felt when they needed to do those drunk gameplays. Like, I need to get drunk for a video. Very strange. I didn't even want to drink. I didn't even want to drink, but I need to, because I need to record the insomnia analysis bit of this video. Very strange. Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I staying up this late? What's even the point? Why am I being so irresponsible? You know, I have a fucking dentist appointment, which I'm not going to. I have a dentist appointment at 11 o'clock, and it's 6 o'clock now. There's no way I'm making it because I'll be asleep by then, and I'm not going in drunk. I'm not going to the dentist fucking pissed. It's not gonna happen. So I'm gonna just skip it, which means I'm gonna keep my missing tooth. Fuck's that about? Why am I being so irresponsible? Why am I doing that to myself? Because, well, there's no good reason. There just isn't. Just doing it. Why am I spending so much effort? Why having to clean? I had to clean out my fucking hard drive because this video is already this big in file size, even though it's recorded in standard definition. And then I go through all that effort just to be lumped in with these people that I fucking at least am neutral with, at most am aggressively against. Like, it's like there's no way we can win. It's like you want to back the underdog, but when the underdog is you and your friends against a multinational corporation. I haven't even talked about the relationship between YouTube and YouTubers. That's beyond the scope of this video. I wouldn't even know where to start. Maybe just go watch the video by Folding Ideas called VidMe, or by Platforms Aren't Your Friend, I believe is what it's called. Great video, but doesn't bode well. Does not bode well. My ears getting electrocuted by my fucking shit. What is this? What's stopping it? There we go. I didn't even want to get drunk. I got drunk for the video. And now tomorrow I'm gonna be hungover for the video because I had to make a video. Stupid. Stupid decision. No logic was involved there. I'm talking all this shit about fucking other people. Meanwhile, I'm doing this sort of thing. Who am I to fucking say anything? Who am I to fucking say anything, man? Oh, look at me, I'm so smart. I'm recreating the ending of Insomnia Analysis where you can see the light streaming into his video. Through his window, I mean. Look, I'm so smart. I'm recreating the ending of Insomnia Analysis and also recreating the end of Cardistry Thesis that I mentioned earlier. Look, wow, I'm a genius. There's so much shit in this video that no one will get. And I'm doing it anyway. I'm putting genuine loads of effort into it for something that will be completely either misunderstood or not understood at all. So... Is this even real? What's real? What in this video has been real and what in this video has been scripted? Because I showed you. You've seen the script, right? You've seen the script. So, you don't know. I know, but I don't really know. That's... It's funny, but it's not funny. What's a persona? What's a character I'm playing for the sake of the video? What's acting? What's not acting? Is Insomnia Analysis even a good video? Have I just hyped it up in my head because it had an impact on me at one point in my childhood? Not even childhood, development. Like I talked about the cinematography, but loads of videos have good... There's films that have good cinematography that I don't make videos about. Why Insomnia Analysis? Because it inspired me? Loads of things inspire me. Why Digi, of all things, an anime reviewer, whose videos are mostly not even good, and definitely these days are not good. And like, not even that, but is like, has been repeatedly a dick to my friends and shit. Who has been... There's not even any reason for me to talk about why Digi, you know, the emotions you feel when someone who was what... Just listen to Cringe by Princess Plunderphonics, Ethernet. It feels like something that never was, you know? It feels like there was this Digi lifestyle, this like otaku... I remember there's an old Digi video from like 2016, 2017 called Otaku Gonzo Journalism is just a fancy name for otaku lifestyle vlogging or something like that. I believe was what the title is. So this lifestyle vlogger, right, is vlogging this lifestyle that doesn't exist, and even if it could exist, it would be incredibly unsustainable. Because the stuff you see in the vlogs is not the 26 years in your parents' house who then decide to move out but leave you the house and allow you to do whatever you know. There's all this fucking context behind it that gets left out. Of course, it has to be for the narrative to work, the framing devices to work. It's not evil. It's not nefarious. It's just how the world works. It's just how stories work. It's just how people work. It's not nefarious. It's not malevolent. But yeah, you don't see that shit. Just to be turned into an analysis subject by me and by a bunch of other people, and it's not even worth it. And it's a lie anyway. The dream was a lie from the beginning. The lifestyle, it was stillborn, you know. It was something that couldn't exist. It existed as an aesthetic and nothing else. It was like a set. It was like a movie set. There was nothing behind it. It was just empty walls that were hollow, and we can see behind the hollow walls now, and it's depressing. Hold on, this is kind of reminding me of the ending of the previous chapter of this video. Remember when I said Cyberpunk is stillborn? I remember that. What was that about? How is that connected? I bet you're all wondering. It's dumb as fuck. It's stupid. Oh god, why am I doing this? Ugh. I need a drink.
Whoa, but did anyone notice? We got the wacky script, we got the The hero. Oh, what's that? Those strange markings. Could there be something written on the other side of these pieces of paper? I wonder. Let's find. Oh wow, there's something on the other side. It says the hero's journey. The hero's journey works because it's so vague you can retroactively apply it to almost any narrative. Wow, so wacky. Wow, it's so crazy and wacky that happened. That happens to be on the back of these pieces of the script for this video. Wow, what's going on there? That's so fucking wacky and strange.
We are those people who will accept no half measures. Those autists who must take everything to the extreme. I don't want to travel at regular speed. I gotta go fast. Oh, you want to talk cute? I want to say nothing else. If it's comfy, then let there be comfy. Oh, that's world building? Oh yeah, cute. We do not take half measures around here. We do not take kindly to those who have or will accept such things. These are simply constructs which are not okay. If you're gonna do matter, then do matter. If you're gonna do experimentalism, then I want to see the wackiest shit possible. We need to see the wackiest shit possible. I'm talking wacky. There were those of us who were too far gone to settle. There were those of us who have spent too long gazing into the void. There are those of us who refuse to take anything for granted. Because we represent the anti-movement. The failures of previous mass movements, the failures of the youth, the failures to change anything. We're on the front lines of that. We saw it, we've researched it, and we've lived it. And we know that life sucks, and we have to drop out. But, like in all things, we don't take kindly to half measures. We go the whole way. And yet, we do not base our entire personality, we do not base our worldview, we do not base our identity on that which we perform. We don't do that. We know the truth, that identity is a construct. We know the truth, that these are performative actions. We know what the spooks mean. And so we can't be fooled by them. Or at the very least, when we are fooled, as we occasionally are, we can
take a look at ourselves and take a step back. We can see the illusions because we live in a brain which never was able to automatically determine these things. We live in a brain that was never able to understand the social rules of the game, to understand these institutions which are supposedly necessary, or so on and so on. And so sure, we're neats, sure, we're hickeys, sure, we live online on the wired, but we don't take that as an entire personality, as an entire identity. This is performative. No, we get our personality from the electromagnetic waves in the air. We get our personality schizo-autistically translated at all times from the electromagnetism. Let's take a look at that word. Electromagnetism. I wonder what that means in Japanese. Let's get some Google Translate on that. Could you Denpa. We represent the Denpa. And we're here to tell you that it ain't a fucking game, bro. Ain't a fucking game. You come around our fucking streets, Denpa mob got hit. And we don't play around. We're the motherfuckers that watched Thomas the fucking Tank Engine at 20 years old. We're the motherfuckers that will deep dive research into obscure philosophers just no other reason than to accelerate our own delusional schizophrenic thoughts. We live in the top corners of the triangle. You don't scare us. And sure, we'll never be popular, we'll never be famous, we'll never be as popular as even a mildly medium tier internet e-celebrity like Digi, or Endless Jess, or Casey Neistat. We'll never even approach that, but you know what? We never wanted it to the first place. And that's our strength, is because all these other people, they can't see through the game. They can't see the pieces moving on the chessboard. They live on this two-dimensional plane, and they act in what seems to them to be logical ways, perfectly logical. I'm not saying they're acting out of malice or stupidity, just a lack of perspective. Simply a lack of perspective. A perspective which we, as the Denpa people, the Denpa ethnicity, the perspective which we have due to upbringing, due to circumstances of our birth, due to environment, due to genetics, due to autism, due to schizophrenia, mental illness. We hold these things to be true. We don't fuck with you. We Denpa mob, motherfucker. Get used to us. What's all that about, eh? What's the Denpa mob mean? Oh, what's the crab stack? Oh, I guess we'll never know. I guess we'll never know what a Denpa mob is. Guess we'll never know what a crab stack is. Is it a genre of film? Or is this a genre of film? Are we a genre of filmmaker? Are we young, up-and-coming YouTube filmmakers? Is that who we are? Is that who we are? We're young, up-and-coming YouTube filmmakers? Is it me, Princess Plunderphonics, Star-Chan, Dotesmite, Starman, Jalay Lane Caucus, and many, many others? A growing trend of these experimental filmmakers on YouTube carving out their own place, inspired by such people, but no longer beholden to the traditions which held them back, no longer beholden to, not being completely autistic, out there, schizophrenic, and what's the word that I'm thinking for? Abrasive? Are we no longer held back by making a 3-hour-long video just so that I can say that we make the genre on YouTube called Denpa? Is that it? Is that what this video is? Is it just a long video of me just so that I can say to the few people who make videos like me, who inspired me and stuff like that, that, oh, I made up a name for us, we're called Denpa now, and that's it. That's all the video is, actually. This is not a joke. That's what the video is. It's just, it's 3 hours long or whatever, and now, all hell's gonna break loose. To me immediately, why was there an ant on your hand? Why was there an ant on your hand? What was that? Why was there an ant? What is the script to this video? Explain it to me immediately. Oh, you want meta? You want meta? I'll give you what you want. I'll give you what you want. I'll give you what you want 100%. Sorry. Let me get this straight. You actually thought, you believed that the character I was playing was me. You really thought that the script represented real life, even after I showed you that this video has a script, and I told you that the script follows the 3-act structure. Explicitly. This wasn't like subtext, this was just me saying it to the camera, and somehow you believed that the existence of Yoshika Miyako Red actually made me sad. No, you idiot. The 3-act structure, at the end of Act 2, the main character reaches their lowest point. It's the instigation for the final act, as the main character reaches their lowest point. It was all for the fucking structure of the 3-act thing. You idiot. You think that shit affects me in any way? You think I give a fuck? No, I don't give a fuck. It's for the fucking script, bro. You know what's funny? Is people think I can't even mess with time. People think I can't even mess with time, but now I'm wearing the time glasses, so I've proven you wrong then, haven't I? Hello, can we go back to the morning after the end of Act 2, please? Can we go back to the morning after the end of Act 2, please? Tap, tap, tap. Okay, time glasses. Let's go back to the morning
This is how you wake up. You get one. $100 of caffeine, 350 milligrams of L-theanine, and then you're gonna need another 100 milligrams of caffeine, 150, 100. No, it's okay. It fell down, but it's okay. Everything's okay. Then you're gonna need to take this. First, you gotta arrange it like a penis. Arrange it like a penis. And then you gotta start taking the pills, man. You gotta start taking the pills, man. You need to drink your water. You need to drink your water. Then let's take it over to the side over here. Let's take it over to the side over here. Let's take it over to the side over here, man. Magnesium. Get some fucking magnesium up in the bitch. Shit. Fuck. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. Get some fucking magnesium. These magnesium pills are too big. I have to put them in half before I take them. That's how big they are. It's like a fucking horse. That's some shit for a motherfucking horse. Do I look like a motherfucking horse to you? Do I look like a motherfucking horse to you? Don't look like shit, do I, bitch? Don't look like shit. Tie that shit. Tie that shit. Tie that shit. Tie that shit, man. Do like a motherfucking horse to you. Cut it in half like that. Now these sharp edges, you don't want those. You don't want those. So I'm gonna have to take off the sharp edges with my fingernail. Sharp edges, you don't want those. Probably losing a little bit of product. Probably losing a little bit of product. Don't really matter too much. Go take off those sharp edges. You don't really want the sharp edges. You don't really want those, man. You don't really want those. You don't really want those. I was gonna make some Tesco's finest sausages for breakfast, but it seems they're still kind of frozen. You're not supposed to cook them from frozen, so instead I'll have bacon, I guess. Bacon, I guess. And eggs.
Wow, that was me hungover the morning after the end of Act 2. I didn't even want to drink. I didn't even want to drink. I drank for the video because it's in the script, bro. It's all in the fucking script. It's all in the fucking script. You know what else is in the fucking script? You know what else is in the fucking script? The ant on my hand. The ant on my hand, that was in the fucking script. Why was that in the script? I guess we'll never know. I guess we'll never know. Oh.
You know, I'm making an AMV right now.
Hey guys, and welcome to my Princess Plunderphonics analysis channel. Today we're going to be analyzing The Night is Screaming by Princess Plunderphonics. Princess Plunderphonics, also known as Ethernet Plunderphonics, also known as Credits of Plunderphonics, also known as Incest Plunderphonics. Honestly, a man of many names and many talents. We're going to be analyzing this video called The Night is Screaming. It's got Digibro in it, as we just saw, and it's got this fish. Fish go raw.
To do a lot of things, because I want to be...
Look at this, motherfucker. He's swirling. What's that about?
Big money shit. I can't stop my ambitions. Fucking hundreds of bitches. Put a meal on my plate. 100 mil on the dishes. They screaming first time of year. First time of year. First time of year. First time of year.
So let's talk about this scene, this shot. Okay, so this shot, you see, I've actually used a framing device to create a frame within the frame. See, there's a frame created with this line, the guitar, the bass, and the bed. Create a frame within a frame, which creates this sense of, like, you know, extended abstraction. So you're even more abstracted than simply just watching it on a screen. So you're not only seeing the frame, but there's actually another layer of abstraction beneath it, because this entire segment is simply a layer of abstraction, because it's just like a misdirection before I go into the insomnia analysis. And to add to the sense of unease, even though I'm sitting there talking to the camera very smoothly and there's like lo-fi hip-hop playing in the background, the actual frame has all of these dynamic diagonal lines in it. Everything is a diagonal line. The walls aren't straight, the painting isn't straight, the bed's going in a different angle. Everything is a diagonal line, which creates this sense of like unease, that like something's wrong here. It's too active for a frame that's just so static. And you know, you go further and you can see that the video actually gets sharper after the first cut, right? I put like a sharpening effect on it right here. Again, literally to sharpen the angles, because it's supposed to be getting busier as the sense of unease is building, because, you know, these strange things are jutting into the frame, there's harsh lighting on the thing. It's, you know, it's building up this sense of unease, that even though this seems like a standard conversation bit in a vlog, it's actually the setup and misdirection for the insomnia analysis reveal. Of course, the reveal of the insomnia analysis is a recreation of the first shot from insomnia analysis, except that I had to, you know, I edited the song a little bit for Insomnia by me, then I actually color graded this entire segment. I color graded it to match the grade of insomnia analysis, to be very dark, you know, even though normally I would color grade the lights in this room because the lights are orangey, so I'd kind of grade it, take away some of the yellowy orangey stuff so it feels more neutral and white, but Digi doesn't do that, so Digi's video is kind of orangey yellowish, and so I recreated that grade artificially for this segment of the video to reflect that. And you can really see that in the segment where I'm having a conversation with Digi. Now, why did I do the segment where I'm having a conversation with Digi? Well, the reason is because a lot of people, especially of that era, referred to Digi's After Dark content and the Procrastinators podcast that Digi was a part of as a friendship simulator, that it sort of feels like a sort of very parasocial relationship, and Digi would go on to actually exploit that for money in the future, very successfully for a while, until the entire empire came crumbling down, kind of on its own accord. Very strange going on there, but that's not what this this video is about. This video is about how I'm a genius and I used that format to literally recontextualize the original Insomnia analysis as if we were having a conversation actually sitting together, which is why I'm drinking wine in that shot, even though I didn't drink any more wine after that and I wasn't drinking wine before that, but it's to match Digi. And you'll notice that Digi is drinking red wine, whereas I am drinking white wine. It's another way of paralleling the way we're similar but different in our style of content, right? That red wine is sort of like a more high-class wine, even though Digi's drinking cheap red wine. It's like red wine is considered more of like a high-class thing, white wine's less so, you know, that sort of thing. To go on to feed into the metaphor later in the video that I am the vodka poured into the beer of Digi. That was a lot of vodka and I got quite drunk after that, which is why the Madotsuki section, the red Madotsuki section, is kind of off. It's kind of not that great. The points I'm making are kind of garbled because I was quite drunk, even though I'm correct in what I said and I'm not removing it from the video. Yeah, I was quite drunk during filming that section. The thing I recreated at the end of Act 2 was the final shot from Insomnia Analysis, where you can see the sun rising in Digi's bedroom as the video comes to a conclusion, except my framing is slightly different. In Digi's video, you can see the sun coming into a window to the side of them, right? So Digi's sitting down somewhere, and there's a window on the side where the sun is coming through. Whereas in my video, in the Insomnia Analysis, I am actually the object that is blocking the sun. So it's like I am keeping myself trapped inside the darkness. I'm trying to stop the sun from shining. Now, of course, in reality, I had to lift the blinds in the first place. As you can see, I always have my blinds closed, so it doesn't. Normally, the sun would never come in, but I framed it that way so that the sun would silhouette me against the background. That I would be the object that is preventing me from escaping, as in to sort of strengthen the narrative of the Insomnia Analysis sort of way of being, the going and staying in your room type thing. I'm sure Digi probably didn't put that much thought into the cinematography. Digi probably just thought that the shot looked cool and it did a good job. It's not a bad shot by any means. In Digi's video, it still gets the same rougher point, bigger point across of the time passing, the sun being up all night, so the sun comes up at the end. I even used this in my original cardistry thesis video. I did almost the exact same shot from this video now. But this is, I think, the best I've done it because of the framing. The way I'm actually blocking the sun from shining in, like I don't want to leave, I think it works very well, especially because it's almost like the sun is pulling me back as I am also recounting this story about how I'm sad or whatever because everything's... Hey guys, and welcome to the Insomnia Analysis. Let's talk about the final shot in the Insomnia Analysis real quick, where I talk about the final shot in the Insomnia Analysis. And what I say is how I framed... I'm a very smart filmmaker for framing myself against the window so that I am the thing that is blocking the light from coming into the room. I am the thing that is stopping myself from leaving in this section, to reflect the themes. Well, the interesting thing about that point is that I can now reveal to you that I just made that up on the spot. That was not done when I was actually framing that. I just framed it up because I thought it looked cool. That I was blocking, that I was like silhouetted. It was just supposed to reflect the final shot in the original Insomnia Analysis, except I don't know if you can see this, but there is almost no space in my room, and so I just sort of had to sit there. And when I framed it up, I noticed that I could like sit in a certain way where my head was blocking the light, and I was like silhouetted, and I thought that looked cool. There was nothing deeper to it than that. It was literally just that. I just made it up in the Insomnia Analysis to seem cool, which is really what the entire Insomnia Analysis was all about, was just seeming cool, because I am very cool. I mean, that's one of the coolest things about me, is that how cool I am. So yeah, I don't really judge you for that. Past me, I don't really judge you for that. Who is that? Who is that even? Who is that? What's going on? It's the racist fish from racism. It's the racist fish from the KKK. Is Prince Planophonics trying to say how he's racist? Is that the point of this video? Maybe Prince Planophonics is trying to make a point about someone. Maybe he's trying to connect the racist imagery between the fish and a certain other YouTuber.
It's not some fucking shit, but whatever I want to be. It's whatever I want it to be.
That's really interesting.
Whether it be podcast, a vlog, a real video, whatever I want, I'll fucking do it.
This shot is great because it references DigiBro. Now, I'm not sure if you've heard of this person, but DigiBro, so it also has this 4chan.
It's not Weave Trash Productions, where that was like
It's not.
the Weave Trash saga.
Now, do you know what's the best thing about this video? Do you know what's the best thing about this video? And the reason I like it? There is no other reason. This is the only reason it's good. This girl, she's called Serial Experiments, okay? And she has a head. She has like a hat that she puts on, right? And then there's me. That's look. Do you recognize the iconic painting? The no thank you painting? And I'm next to Serial Experiments. I'm next to Serial Experiments, my wifo, but I'm all pink. I don't know. I can't say enough positive stuff about it. Really, it's beautiful. It's just wonderful. And that's my plunder. Like and subscribe for more videos like this. See, I'm wearing a hood right now, and when I'm wearing a hood, I am actually in Cyberpunk Thank You. Hey guys, Cyberpunk Thank You here. You can tell it's me because I'm wearing a hood, and that makes me Cyberpunk Thank You. So yeah, what up guys? Hey, Cyberpunk Thank You here. Here to talk about Cyberpunk. So Cyberpunk 2077 is a video game produced by Princess Plunderphonics. Credit to Plunderphonics for the video game Cyberpunk 2077, out now on PlayStation and Xbox Live. And we're going to be talking about the first segment of the video, the first chapter where I talk about how sorry, not me, the other guy who totally isn't me, Cyberpunk Thank You. I'm a different character because I'm wearing a hood, and that's how you know I'm Cyberpunk Thank You. So the original Backwards No Thank You from the Backwards No Thank You channel is talking about how Cyberpunk was kind of the stillborn thing, and then it was supposed to be a parallel to how it would say like Cyberpunk was a youth culture that never was, which was kind of trying to combine these like anti-authoritarian, nihilist and DIY low-life aesthetics of the punk movement for a modern era with technology, and yet it failed because it didn't understand anything. It was trying to be too much like punk of the past, and it was too of its time. It was too inspired by sort of 60s hippie culture. It was too inspired by this idea of the internet that never came true, and so on and so on. You've seen the first part of the video. I don't need to remind you, hopefully, although it was quite a long time ago at this point, so maybe you don't remember it, but that was the rough gist of it. And so the reason I brought that up in the first place was because I wanted to reference it at the end of the video when the two parts would come together. That Digi and the YouTube scene it set up this perfect ground for a new subculture that would be like a tiny informal subculture called Denpa, and that was the point of the video. So you could stop watching now, but don't, because it's about to get really cool and good. This is just the beginning of the third act, and as we all know, the third act is where the climax happens, and the big boss battle at the end. There's actually going to be a big fight scene at the end between me and Mechagodzilla. It's going to be really cool, so stick around for that one, guys. Anyway, this is Cyberpunk Thank You signing out. Welcome to the Insomnia Analysis. So in the end clip of the Insomnia Analysis, I talk about the final clip in the Insomnia Analysis. Sorry, wait. Let's start this again. Welcome to the Insomnia Analysis. In the final clip of the Insomnia Analysis, hold on. Hey guys, welcome to the Insomnia Analysis. And we're going to be analyzing the Insomnia Analysis, and specifically in the final shot of the Insomnia Analysis. So I actually wanted to talk about the script for this video for a little bit. So as you can see, it was planned out from the beginning. The first shot, the opening, the cold open, where I make that joke about tsunderes being like reverse tsunderes being real women. Firstly, I'm not really happy with how it turned out, but I've just never felt like re-recording it, and now it's too late because I've shaved my head, so it would ruin the surprise twist at the beginning of the third act if I was to re-record it now, because none of my friends know that I've shaved my head yet, so like no one who talks to me. Obviously this video is made for like 2 people, 3 people maybe. I only really care about like 3 or 4 people who watch this video, and I'm friends with them all, so who cares. So that was filmed actually like maybe about a week before the rest of the video, and it was inspired by, I said I've been playing this visual novel recently. That visual novel was Chrono Clock, and Chrono Clock has a tsundere character in it, but it also has I guess a reverse tsundere. I'm not really sure what. No, it's just a tsundere. I don't know what it doesn't really match any tropes. It's just sort of a person. Anyway, it's not really important. It's kind of a tangent. Let's talk about the script. So when I said there's a script, what it actually is just a series of bullet points. Purposefully, when I shot this, I shot it in a lower resolution for 2 reasons. The first reason is for like a what's the word? Like a cinematic reason to differentiate the segments of talking about the script from the rest of the video. It's in a different resolution, so you know that it's taking place in sort of a separate timeline from the rest of the video, and those timelines have now merged, as you can see from the fact that I'm talking about it. But the second reason is that because the resolution is so low, you can't actually see or read the script. So let's talk about it now. So there would be the cold open first of all, then the OP, right? Which we've all gotten to, which is from On Site, which will also be, which I haven't made yet, but On Site, the song that sample was used in, where it's famous from. I'm really hoping people don't know and then are shocked when they get to the part where Denpa flashes up on the screen. They're like, oh shit, it's that Kanye song. Maybe they know it. I don't know. It's a good. It works either way. This is the thing. It's good art because it works whether you know the reference or not. That's art, guys. So yeah, after the OP, we enter chapter 1, the failure of cyberpunk and the need for a replacement, right? And this was, I was planning to talk about, the death of the cyberdelic dream. That was the first subheading, lane and blame. And you can see when I messed up, I was trying to write an ampersand, but I couldn't remember how to do it. So there's like 4, it's like lane and blame, twists in the mold, right? And then the next one would be about the 80s cyberpunk versus the Matrix and industrial culture. Now, when it came to actually talking about it, I wanted to talk more about industrial culture. I wanted to talk more about Throb and Gristle, but I ended up not really talking about Throb and Gristle at all, which is, a bit of a shame, but the video's like 3 hours long. I mean, I can't talk about fucking everything, can I? So you can just do your own research into Throb and Gristle. You should listen to them, great band. And then the second chapter is Who Are These YouTubes? And now, that is, of course, a reference to Who Are These Podcasts. Who Are These YouTubes? I start off with a pretty standard cinematic analysis of Casey Neistat's videos. Like, I wanted to very much keep it in the realm of, like, actual materially in analyzing just the content of the videos and the reasons why decisions were made, but not to go into the sort of philosophical reading behind it. Like, I think I mentioned at one point how Casey Neistat, is very into has fully bought into this capitalist self-help culture. But, if I could have gone into that way more, but I was trying to restrict myself to just talking about the technique in the videos and not talk about, how Casey Neistat is able to use so many drones and the weird relationship between Casey Neistat and the musicians that make music for his videos and his questionable practices with regards to work ethic and, how the fuck he's capable of editing so much. Does he hire other editors? Like, he never really mentions it. It seems like he keeps it purposefully vague. Like, he sort of hires editors, but he also sort of, wants people to think he's also doing it himself. It's very strange, and I could have mentioned that. It would have been, but I could have mentioned other stuff. I could have talked about how Casey Neistat's videos work so well to get you down a rabbit hole on YouTube. I could have talked about his weird relationship with the Arab Emirates and the airline companies and stuff. But I wanted to keep it vague, and Samsung as well. He has big corporate sponsorships like that. He's a But I didn't want to talk about that because that would have been sort of a giveaway for the twist that would come later when I just reveal that this is the Insomnia analysis. I wanted to you know, keep it straight-faced until you realize, oh fuck, there's more to this video than it seems. Because the first segment, the first chapter, is very much just like a pretty plain no thank you video. I mean, I've even talked about similar things in the past about Cyberpunk. So it's supposed to sort of give you this, lull you into a false sense of security where you think that this is a pretty standard no thank you explains a philosophical concept to you before it dips into the insane meta shit. And then yeah, then I talk about Digi, Jesse, Red, and Neat YouTube. And then we're in chapter 3, which is called All Hell Breaks Loose. And the first thing it says is shave head. So I shaved my head, and then the rest of the script I'm going to keep as a secret, because if you know it, then you'll know too much. Hey guys, and welcome back to my Sissy Hypno channel. Okay, so I'm going to get my hypnotizing substances out. You're going to want your hypnotizing substances. That's going to be the first step you're going to need. So your hypnotizing substances. Hey yo, who the fuck is that? Hey yo, who the fuck is that? Hey yo, my man. Hey yo, wagwan. Yo, who the fuck is this dude? Yo, what the fuck is going on here, bro? Who the fuck is this motherfucker, man? Yo, he's big chillin'. Yo, look at this dude, bro. Fuck wrong with his face, man. This dude autistic. This dude autistic as fuck, man. Fuck this hair going on. Fuck this hair going on. Motherfucker look like Hanakawa at the end of Monogatari. Motherfucker look like Monogatari. Look like I need a haircut though, tell you that much. Yeah, G, I like your cut, G. I like your cut, G. I like your cut, G. Who the fuck is this, bro? Who the fuck is this? Yo, I'll put you back where you belong, motherfucker. I stay. Yo. Give me daps. Give me daps. Yeah. Is it daps or dups? I've never figured. I don't know, and I'm too afraid to ask. Yo, shouts out him. He seems like a nice enough guy. Yeah, you know, it's not so often you meet a real one in today's political environment. Not so often you meet a real one in today's political climate. Hey guys, and welcome to my Starman analysis channel. Now, do you know what's actually crazy?
Funny, the one video I do outside, I'm not wearing those stupid fucking Digibro sunglasses.
Thank you. I appreciate that as well. Now, do you want to know what's interesting about this? Is that I'm Britney Spears is a video about shaving your head. But hold on a minute. No, thank you. The video you're currently making is a video about shaving your head. Well, it turns out I never actually even saw this Starman video, but now I can't prove it because I just clicked on it. And so you'll think I saw it and I'm copying Starman. But actually I was planning to do this from before because it's in the script. Even though this came out 2 weeks ago before I wrote the script, so I can't prove it. But you're going to have to trust me, I'm not plagiarizing Starman. Now let's take a look at this channel. As you can see in the banner, Twilight Sparkle is a character from My Little Pony, which is a video game about ponies. And it's Twilight Sparkle is fucking dead. And here you can see Twilight Sparkle being fucking dead. Honestly, great channel banner. I give it a strong 9 out of 10. This is Starman, but Starman is a little bit confusing because there's another person who's called Star Chan, but Star Chan and Starman are different. Firstly, Star Chan is not even called Star Chan anymore. She's called Osaka Syndrome, and has changed her banner from the banner that I made her, which was about being able to read, and didn't even tell me, and I only just found out, which I think is kind of disrespectful. And one great thing about Osaka video, one great thing about Osaka video is that you can see it has the Fugusfidus, and you want to know something interesting about Fugusfidus. This is the Fugusfidus, and if we scroll up in real life, oh, what's going on up here? Oh wow, it's Fugusfidus. It's on the real computer. It's on the real computer as well, and that's what's really great about Osaka video. And another great thing about Osaka video is already in this video. Remember this video that was earlier in this video? This video is already in this video, but it's also in this video, and that's what's pretty cool about this channel, in my opinion. Another fun fact about this is that Star, the runner of Osaka Syndrome, the owner, has a really good cat, and I think it's in this video. Yes, has a really good cat.
Press pause until I remember.
Let's see if I can find. Is this the cat? Where's the cat? What have you done with your fucking cat? Oh no, guys, the cat is dead. Guys, oh no, there it is. It's fine.
Look at this cat.
Look at the cat.
I have the coolest cat of any human being.
And that's the best thing about Osaka Star video channel, is that if you want to see the coolest cat of any human being, you're gonna want to subscribe to Zabujad. So Zabujad makes videos about piss jugs. If you don't know what piss jugs is a little bit like My Little Pony. Thank you. So then there's this piece of paper, which is sort of explaining the script in a story writing structure. So at first, you have the call to adventure, and the call to adventure is sort of me realizing that Cyberpunk isn't working anymore, and like I need to find a replacement for it. Then the refusal of the call, where I'm like, actually Lane is really good and Blame is really good. These are from the Hero's Journey monomyth thing. And then there's the Act 1 climax, where I'm like, it can be, you can do it basically. You can overcome that sort of thing. And then there's the big obstacle, and then it just sort of falls apart because I didn't really pay attention to this at all. What's important is that the midpoint of the video, like the structural midpoint, is when the insomnia analysis reveal happens. It's not literally the midpoint timing wise, but the narrative midpoint is that, and then the lowest moment is the red stuff and Digi being bad. Although I was originally, when I was planning the video, I wanted to talk more about Digi's channel in the modern era, and like how and why Digi no longer is, making content that is as good or as resonant. Like, was it all a fluke or what? But in the end, I decided that that's not really that relevant to my points in the video. I decided, like, I don't really want to get into that too much because it's hard to say. Firstly, it's still an ongoing story. Who knows? Like, it's Digi's Digi. Their situation in life could be completely different a month from now, and this video would be instantly outdated. So, I didn't want to get into that stuff too much. Also, because Plunder made Cringe, which does a much better does a much better job of explaining the emotional weight behind that sort of thing than I could do in this video. So yeah. But the point is that I reached my lowest point when I'm like, oh, Red is so bad YouTuber, Red is so bad YouTuber, and then the climax, which would be, oh, looks like it's right around the corner. Hey guys, and welcome to my Dodesmite analysis video. So Dodesmite is a 25-year-old child from Pakistan, and she lives on YouTube, and this is her YouTube channel. Now you can tell it's a good YouTube channel because the banner. So this is the video called Zenith, It's not Zenith, the video game, that never came out. It's Zenith. And the thing about Zenith that makes it so good is, firstly, it's a Naruto AMV. But secondly, it has many colors. And you can see using YouTube's handy scrolling through the thing feature, the different colors that are in the video. So this one is called green. This one's called Focus, you fuck. Focus. 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 Come on. Come on here. Come on there. What are you doing? You gonna focus? I would like if you would focus, please. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, there we go. Turn the exposure down. I'll turn the exposure down. Now we can see that it says green. So this is the green chapter. And then this one is blue. That's a different color. That's what's crazy. It's actually pretty cool. Look, there's a color. And it's called blue. And here's the bit that's in purple. Now, the thing about purple is it's not quite blue, but it's also not really green. It's really cool, actually. And then there's a red bit. Now, personally, I like red bits. You can see this. This is about shonen. Now, I don't like shonen that much, but I do like red. My favorite YouTube channel is actually Red Manotsuki. But the only thing that's better than red is yellow, and that's why the ending of the video is yellow, because the ending of the video is about Naruto, and Naruto is Japanese, and Japanese people are yellow, according to Dodesmite, the famous internet racist. And so Dodesmite made the ending of the video yellow to represent Naruto's, the creator of Naruto, Hideaki Anno's yellow skin.
That was random as fuck.
Really interesting and neat channel is this guy. He's called Daniel Hiding in My Room Internet Support Group. Now this is actually it's one of my favorite YouTube channels, and let's talk about what psych bitch. This is actually a video about this guy. This guy, he's the ghetto of the ghetto Italian. Japanese words, I can't read the kanji. Italian. Let's watch this video. Yes. Yeah. So this guy, he was in a video game called The Ghetto Get, and then he made YouTube videos 7 years ago. I'll never again. And it's a damn shame. It's a damn shame. Now that I got my bald ass head on. Now I got my bald ass head on. Got me thinking, I kind of look like a monk, you know. I kind of look a bit like a monk. So I feel like I should start going around saying Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, you know, like the Buddhist monks in certain types of Buddhism, especially in Japan. They say Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo 801 times. It's a mantra, and you can actually sing it. So it's Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and I actually say it a lot. Even before I shave my head, I say Nam Myoho Renge Kyo all the time. Because it's a really good stim. You know, if you're not autistic, you may not know what a stim is. A stim is something you sort of do to stimulate yourself when you're getting very, like, you have a lot of energy. So what I do a lot is just this, or normally slower like that, or rocking back and forth, or saying Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Another one, well, there's some that I used to do when I was younger, but I don't do anymore. One that I used to do all the time when I was younger was this. And a favourite that I've got, which I don't really do that much, but it's from a video called Autistic Things I Did Today by the 3 Milk Tea, one of the best videos on the internet. And she talks about one of her stims, and one, it's 2, 4, 2, wait, is it 2, 5? Yeah, 2, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5, or 2, 5, 2, 5. And this is a really great one. I've been doing this more often. But my favourite one, my favourite vocal stim at least, is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, right? And Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is really fun to say. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And it got me thinking about how religions are just made by autistic people and schizophrenic people. It's the ultimate schizo-autist collaboration, is just to create a religion. Back in the day, you know, you had the schizophrenic person who would come up with sort of the ideas, the crazy God visions, the psychic visions from Allah, right? That would be the schizophrenic person who would introduce that sort of shit. And then you'd have the autistic people who would come in later to sort of expand on the world and the universe. So, like, for example, the idea, I don't know, let's take, like, you would have some Christian guy like Jesus who was probably schizophrenic, and he would be like, or I don't know, Moses or something, who would be like, here's what God told me to do. And then later again, you'd have someone, super autistic person, like Thomas Aquinas or something, who'd be like, this is the real way, and here's all the details, here's all the little details. Like, for example, imagine you're autistic person in medieval times. What are you going to do? There's no one understands what autism is, even though autism has presumably been around forever. No one knows what it is, right? And so what are you going to do with your life? You can't really socially interact with people. You can't really get none of those medieval bitches. You can't really get none of those medieval bitches, right? So you're kind of fucked because you're not really good at working. Autistic people, they don't like working hard, you know, but you do really like getting super into stuff. And you really like this religion stuff. You really want to learn more. And so autistic people would probably go off and become monks. And I believe that most monasteries, practices and stuff around the world is just created by autistic people. Chants and things like that is simply because autistic people need to stim, and chants all religious chants are really good stimming. Also, a lot of religions have stuff like prayer beads to fiddle with, again, stimming. Many religious places have things like vows of silence, or just silence is generally enforced and encouraged because autistic people don't want to communicate all the time. It's overstimulating. You know, there's no fucking women allowed. Those 3D whores, get out of here. You know, that these they knew what was going on, these medieval autists, and they became monks. And now, instead of writing the Bible, autistic people, instead of writing some treatises about, you know, how certain religious practices should be created, autistic people, they write the super intelligent autist. They write Horizon in the Middle of Nowhere instead, which is equally as complex as any mainstream religion, and equally, you know, referential to various spiritual practices or whatever. Except that they just acknowledge that it's fiction. But in the past, historically, you know, the definition of fiction was different. I mean, things were treated differently back then. You just got to keep that in mind when you realize that religions are autistic and schizophrenic in the best possible way. And not having strong opinions about religion is normie. If you're just like, I'm an atheist, you haven't thought about it. You got to think about it and then become an atheist. But also, watch the sacred cow. I don't know what I just wanted to say that religious people are autistic. I'm going on for too long. I don't know what I'm talking about. Safe and fat. Crab stack, motherfuckers. Crab stack, motherfuckers. If you ain't crabbed, then you ain't stacked up. If you don't realize this is how I'm gonna be styling on you motherfuckers in the future. This is how I'm gonna be styling on you motherfuckers. And you want, oh, you know, I need some nicotine. Hold on, let me just open up my handbag real quick. Yeah. These how we style our motherfuckers in the future. To be honest with you. Oh. Perfect. That's how we styling. I'm pull up on your bitch, do that. Next thing you know, there's basically only two options that can happen. If I pull up on your bitch and whip out the full fat, don't panic, there's only two options that can happen. The first option is I'm going to fuck, then I'm going to dip. And the second option is I'm going to fuck, then I'm going to dip. Wanna see some real Denpa shit? Okay, I'll show you some real Denpa shit. This is Better Off Dead window. Yo, remember when when Better Off Dead said widow, window, Better Off Dead window. That's where it's at really. Better Off Dead Denpa as fuck. More like Better Off Denpa. That's where it should be renamed to. Better Off Denpa window. Yo, this bitch really said window. Hey guys, Cyberpunk, thank you here back again to tell you. I'm cyberpunk because you know, I know all about the cybers, and can you hear that? My cybers, they're telling me that I only have like 2 gigabytes of space left in my computer. I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna render this video then, because it's probably gonna be bigger than 2 gigabytes, and so this video just has to end on a somewhat unsatisfying conclusion, which, you know, we all hate our unsatisfying conclusions, but it actually plays into the themes of this ending section where the 3-act structure breaks down, because it's sort of trying to say how the 3-act structure and structured content, that the hero's journey is all bullshit anyway. As I said at the beginning of chapter 3 in the little low resolution section, I guess this is the final revelation that really, I guess the point of this video is, you know, it's partly about the what it's about, but it's also about a commentary on, you know, structure of content and how Denpa content doesn't need to be structured in the same way as traditional content. But anyway, one last time for old time's sake, for Old Town Road by Digibo, for Old Town Road, my favorite song by Carly the Golden Witch. Cyberpunk, thank you. We're going to put on his time glasses and go back in time and leave you one last back in time clip for the end of the video. This is no thank you from just around the end of chapter 2, chronologically in real time. Drunk thank you. I'm such a fucking genius, and no one will ever understand. And that's what's great about it. Proves I'm a genius. No one else ever thinking about this 3-act structure, hero's journey. Yeezus, you ever notice this is Yeezus? And insomnia analysis. And everything else. No, you didn't notice that. Only I noticed that because I'm a motherfucking genius. I'm Salvador Dali. I'm eccentric and concentric, motherfucker. Bitches don't know. Bitches don't know shit about me. 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 I'm eccentric and concentric, motherfucker. Check out my moss. My moss. Feels great to be the only one alive right now. In the streets, motherfucker. I'm schmovin'. I'm making schmoves. People don't know I'm a really good actor. Let me get in character. Let me get in character real quick. Oh, I'm gonna get in character. I'm getting character. Oh man.
I really am so bothered by the existence of these other YouTube channels that aren't as good as me. Oh, I'm really bothered by that shit. Oh, it's so depressing that Digibro isn't good anymore. Oh, it's so depressing that people change naturally as a part of the progression as a human being, and sometimes that won't appeal to me as much as it used to because it may not be as aesthetically impressive, or it may be seen as a negative from my specific perspective. That really actually affects me in real life, and this isn't a role I'm playing. Oh man, no one knows. Only I knows. Only I knows cause I got big nose. Only I knows cause I got big nose. Only I knows cause I got big nose. You think I give a fuck about my dentist appointment? You think I give a fuck about I was like, oh, I'm missing my dentist appointment. I'm so irresponsible. I was planning to skip my dentist appointment from the beginning of this video. From when I was planning this video 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I was planning it as part of the fucking video. Because I'm a fucking genius. What other person you know that would do something like that? What person you know wrote to the fairest? And listen, this isn't, when I say I'm trying to be positive here, this isn't to say that Yoshika Miyako Red is good or anything. Like, this motherfucker doesn't even know the difference between an album and a song. You see that comment? If you go onto the fairest on YouTube, he'll probably delete it if he ever sees this video, but he won't. And you go to first, you scroll down, you can see him being like, why is this song so long? He doesn't know what an album is. That's how stupid he is. He doesn't know what an album is. And I made To the Fairest. And I made that shit. And that's just genius as well. And that's just genius as well, because it's like, it's a fucking commentary on, you know, I wrote a fucking paper on, you know, did you know I wrote a fucking paper for university? For the university that I go to, about my fucking album, and I explained about the situationists and shit, and I mentioned fucking Deleuze and Guattari in that fucking paper, and it was all bullshit. I did it in a fucking day, in one day. I wrote I did all my fucking shit in the space of like 5 days. No one else could do that except me, because I was fed on good porridge, and that turned me into a genius. And that couldn't have happened to anyone else, because they weren't fed on good porridge. You can't eat good porridge when you're growing up, boy. Why is there liquid on my forehead? One time there was a big leak from above, and there was like liquid coming from my lamp, liquid dripping water, because the upstairs floor they had some sort of flooding or something. And I remember it woke me up because I was like, oh, it's fucking raining, are you serious? And I was like, what the fuck? It's not supposed to be raining, I'm indoors. And I was like, oh shit. And then yeah, it was fucked. That happened once. See, this clip isn't important, this is a throwaway clip just to add to the insanity, I guess.